I'm proud to be doing it, and I'm actually really excited about the stories that I'm kind of working on right now to get ready for it.
Yeah, you're like also like me, where you just get on a rabbit hole and just start researching.
Yep.
And you're suddenly everywhere. I was watching a video that you did. I mean, we should talk about this briefly because I think it's all kind of related to psychology being used on the public, us being socially engineered, and we're kind of noticing a lot of things at once, and particularly in Hollywood. It's kind of when somebody tries to get out, then we're suddenly told that they're on drugs and they're crazy. And you did the video on Justin Bieber. So what is your take there?
I mean, we're still in the middle of whatever's happening to Justin, but I really was building off of a lot of things that you had said and a lot of things that Brett had said. And even if you don't have any inside information, just looking at the pattern in Hollywood, the pattern with all these different stars, and obviously they take a different tactic with each different star based upon whatever they can exploit or whatever they can sort of.
I'm gonna put this on some way louder.
Now, Justin, they are attacking what they attack, and once Justin's close circle started coming out of television,
I am outside of Eugene.
that the smear tactics being used to sort of pathologize Justin and to make his fans worried about him.
I'm like 80 miles outside of Eugene.
The exact same pattern. And I mean, it looks like the kind of thing that they're doing every time someone threatens them or someone that is very powerful or very influential tries to get away from them. And in some ways, I think that the Justin one is almost more targeted because he's not going after the whole industry. It really feels like this one is kind of Scooter specifically taking personal offense to what's going on here. And Scooter kind of got trapped in the middle of this deal with Hyde. So I think that it's sort of a case where you have a specific, I don't want to say mobster, but someone that sort of feels like a mobster.
Discuss a bit about the deal with Hyde.
So Scooter was hemorrhaging his clients. Scooter's very well known in the industry for not being, shall we say, the nicest guy to work for. He's great if you're working for him and you're making him money and you're making him fame and success. But over and over, artists throughout his career have left him and said that he's great until he doesn't need you anymore, and then you're discarded. And he had lost all of Grande, for example, the Taylor Swift drama, and Justin was like his last big name. And he sold his whole business, Ithaca Holdings, to Hive, which is the K-pop company, which is very like the Korean mafia of music. And I'm pretty sure that was in 2021. That predates this kind of Justice World Tour fiasco where Justin's face was paralyzed and Justin, incurred all this debt. So it kind of feels from my perspective that I'm assuming that Scooter kind of saw the writing on the wall and was trying to move out of this position of managing talent because no more talent was with him and into this executive role. And he managed that and he sold what he had for $1 billion to Hive. And this company, Ithaca Holdings, was like making less than 200 million a year in revenue, I believe. So it's like they're selling it at this crazy high valuation. And presumably that's because it includes the future perpetual rights to Justin Bieber and his brand, right?
Okay, I didn't even look at this.
And so, so this Hyde sale, this Hyde deal is critical because it happens before the Justice World Tour. Justin then goes on this crazy, more than a year-long world tour where he happens to get COVID at the start of it, and then he happens to get an injury that looks an awful lot like a vaccine injury.
His wife also had she had a brain clot.
Exactly. And he winds up with half his face paralyzed, can't continue. And so I'm not super clear on all the specifics because I don't have any files or anything. It was just what I was told about the situation. But apparently the tour was booked out on advances, which is not uncommon for the industry as far as I'm aware. But it's such a big tour. We're talking hundreds of millions, at least tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars advanced. And so when he's partway through this tour and then can't continue, suddenly there's a whole bunch of debt that's been incurred that's not getting paid back. And obviously then Justin goes to his management and is like, so we have insurance, right? This is no problem. We have insurance for this kind of a thing. And allegedly what then was told to him is that, no, you broke your contract. So there is no insurance payout here. You actually have to cover this debt. And so Justin's management, whether it was Scooter technically at the helm of this or his other managers that were at the helm of this, that management team managed him in such a way that the most popular pop star, like one of the most popular pop stars in the world, got saddled with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt on a tour that they had mismanaged and that he had to all of these things reflect on the management and how poor their management style is, and are things that if Scooter was really a good manager, this would never happen to your artist because he's supposed to work for the artist. He's supposed to be like the #1 manager in the industry. So that all happens in the middle, and Justin is trying to get out, and Scooter's on the hook for $1 billion worth of value. Like, he's promised $1 billion worth of Justin Bieber's future to this Korean company, which he's now on the board of. And so I feel like Scooter's in the lurch, because suddenly Scooter can't deliver on this $1 billion promise that he's made. And Justin's trying to escape from that promise because he hates them all. And they're still trying to control him through his other company. And so it's just, it feels to me like everyone is sort of trapped in bad ideas that are sort of leveraged to the hilt in terms of how much money is involved and how many promises are involved. And it all revolves around Justin continuing to produce music, which, like, anyone who's had a kid or a creative in their life knows that no creative dude like Justin is going to be producing hit singles if he hates you and you're trying to control his whole life. And so it feels like we're seeing not only these smear campaigns to try to get him back in line coming from Scooter, but it also feels like we're seeing Justin kind of acting out because he has no power. He's in secret litigation. They won't let him open a new clothing company. They won't let him, like, profess his, faith in God, or they're slandering that. So it's messy in every direction.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it also makes you just revisit everybody in the past that has kind of gone through a similar thing, a similar cycle. And what's really the tell is just the way the paparazzi suddenly takes a picture of them, and they're doing kind of nothing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're trying to spin a picture of any person. Like, if you just have like a resting face, miserable, exhausted, on drugs, this, that. And it's like, you could take anybody out of context and say this. And especially someone like Britney Spears, I kind of go back to the breakdown and how they just had the paparazzi hounding her. And I wonder if she was similarly trying to take ownership of her life and trying to leave, because the reality is you can't get into these contracts as someone that is that young. Even if your mom says, like, yes, thumbs up, we can do this. And suddenly you maybe perhaps want to relitigate that when you get older. And from what I heard from, and I'll tell you exactly who it was, actually Courtney Love. I actually have had some conversations with her. Wow. And she was saying to me that publishing in Hollywood is just one big gang, and they will own all of the publishing rights one way or another. And I go back and I think about what Michael Jackson said. I go back and think about what Prince said, and I'm looking at Justin Bieber, and I'm like, is this what this is really about? Is you are literally not allowed to take anything out of Hollywood with you when you go.
Absolutely. I mean, we know full well, not a secret, that Hollywood, and especially the music industry, was founded by the mob and the mafia. And the music industry specifically, you can, like, look into the exact mobsters that are famous for having been the sort of founders of this model, and then you can look at the history of the industry and see how they've always treated their artists this way, and they've always embezzled money in these ways and laundered money in these ways. And there's no evidence that it ever stopped, but there is evidence that the same tactics are still being used.
Right.
And to the paparazzi thing, Justin just posted, he's been doing it more and more, but he just posted on his Instagram a couple days ago a video of himself trying to walk out of his place with Haley and the paparazzi, the way they are there. And I can't help but suspect, like, is that kind of paparazzi attention always around every star, or is it only there when someone wants to smear you?
Yeah, and they said
and then they put pressure on you.
Exactly, and my PR person said that he was like, nobody does paparazzi anymore. He's like, it's just a different era. People have cell phones, and he's like, and so when you see that, it is because somebody is calling and paying someone. That's not paparazzi. That's just stalking someone, trying to drive them crazy, and and pretending it's because they're famous. I think we have the video actually of what he posted onto his Instagram. Justin Bieber.
So refreshing hearing this shit come from mainstream.
And trying to leave your house here.
Yeah, and Haley's right behind him. You can see her in just a second.
Watch out.
Crazy.
And if you look at these dudes' faces, they don't look like creatives. They don't really look like the kind of people you'd expect to be paparazzi photographers.
Yo, watch out.
Very harassing.
Yeah, the idea is really just to drive people crazy because they can't get a moment of privacy and to make them have that breakdown. It's interesting because we're actually, I've got all these books that obviously I'm planning to read for my book club, and the one that I'm really excited about, we're reading Hollywood Babylon, so we're talking about that. People need to know.
If anyone's not in the book club, you should join. That book is crazy.
It's crazy about the founding of Hollywood, the gangs, the amount of people that they killed, the amount of people that died, and the fact that the media today tries to like debunk this book is incredible because it tells you like the media has always, you learn in this book, the media has always been a part of this organ, this gang organ, which we're obviously all very much aware of. But the next book we're reading, and this kind of pivots and gets into because we're seeing it in politics as well. It's like this classification of a person as crazy if they don't get in line. It happened to me last year. It's like I went from totally just being an amazing, oh, she's got so much potential, she's amazing, to like, no, actually she's suffering postpartum psychosis. And the second book that we're reading is called The Assault on Truth. Fascinating book. And Skylar, you can bring this up. We spoke about this in book club, but I'm going to give this also to the public, written by this guy named Jeffrey Masson. Jeffrey Masson was this Harvard graduate, psychoanalyst, Jewish guy. And I'm telling you he's Jewish because it's relevant, because they can't just go, oh, he's anti-Semitic. Yeah. And he got his dream job working as an assistant director at the Sigmund Freud Archive Center. So he worked under Sigmund Freud. This is the father of modern psychology, right? Mm-hmm. He worked under Anna Freud at the Sigmund Freud Archive Center, and he was next in line to become the director. So Jeffrey said, you know what? I'm going to learn German so I can read all of these papers that haven't been released to the public. It's an archive center, so they get access to things that we weren't allowed to see. So he learns German. He's reading through Sigmund Freud's work. And he suddenly realizes, like, for those of you that have never studied psychology or don't know a little bit about Sigmund Freud, if you're listening to this, the relevant portion is he just did a lot of work about children and sex. And kept basically, like, when he first came out, he said, like, you know, children are being molested by their parents. And then he did a complete 180 and like went back on his seduction theory and was like, actually, these kids are attracted to their parents. And this was kind of one of his biggest things that he established. He was very interested in children and sex. And he reached through his documents and he said, Sigmund Freud had proof that these children were being molested by their parents. And he hid it and gaslit them and created modern psychology and the psychoanalytic movement to gaslight people. And to figure out how you could gaslight people by just diagnosing them when they were telling the truth about something. So this book, and you can go down to that section, Skylar, if you want.
It's wild. I never knew it was in a book I could buy and read.
So this guy was thinking, once I ring the alarm on this, the entire like mainstream media is going to want to cover the fact that Sigmund Freud was a fraud, and he was covering for a bunch of parents who were like molesting their children. And it turned out that they all turned on him. He ended up in like a 10-year
And that is why I don't go to therapy with modern psychologists.
This guy is definitely still alive. Wow. Yeah. And so he was supposed to succeed him as the director of the Sigmund Freud Archives after his and Anna Freud's deaths. And then he rings the alarm, he starts speaking to Anna, and he's like, everyone's going to be so happy that I'm like ringing the alarm and saying that actually the father of modern psychology is just the father of modern gaslighting. And these kids, he had actual clinical proof that these kids had been molested. Crazy. Okay. And so what ends up happening is the entire mainstream media smears him, libels him. He ends up in a 10-year defamation lawsuit as they try to smear him as like a crazy person. And he's like, I just did everything right. And so to be able to bring this book is so relevant, because I always say you got to go back to the beginning to understand these tactics that they have been employing, because Sigmund Freud, his family, the Bernays family, then becomes the father of modern propaganda. Edward Bernays, who did the World War I, the World War II propaganda to make Americans hate Germans, to make us eat breakfast, tons of things that Edward Bernays did. That was his nephew. They also control today modern PR. Like the biggest PR person in the world is like Matthew Freud, who's his like great-great-grandfather. And so it's super important. And so when I see these tactics, and you get to like now, obviously we should talk about like this random report from Peterson that like everyone who disagrees with me is a psychopath. You just go like, okay, this is what the psychology community actually, that's what he is. He's a professional psychologist. And when you don't get what you want, or the public isn't doing what you want, you're supposed to just call them crazy and gaslight them.
Devilishly intelligent. It's such a smart tactic, especially in Hollywood and the music industry, because you have all these people that you have every case to make that they might be crazy. And some of them actually, obviously, like when you go through trauma, if you're an Epstein victim, or you go through trauma because you're a child star and you were probably molested, or drugs, or whatever it is, then it's very easy to make the case that they might be crazy. But time after time after time, you notice that despite what their mental state might be, the FBI investigated Michael Jackson for 10 years and did not find any evidence of the allegations, as one example, right? And he was very clearly a threat to the music industry. So they keep pathologizing people over and over. And
he was getting ownership.
Exactly,
because I watched your video. Michael Jackson was actually getting ownership, owned the Beatles catalog, and they just moved and they were like, actually, he's a pedophile. And the father of modern psychology taught this. So when you see that someone is majoring in psychology, it's such an important book, because I know that obviously you're signing up for the major. I'm not accusing you of co-signing this, because we don't know the sources of any of these things. We think of Sigmund Freud and we just hear he's great. No, this guy was a professional gaslighter in chief.
When I first heard about Sigmund Freud's, like, his whole theory in, I think, middle school, it rang some bells. It was like, this is not right. This is weird. Like, the whole Oedipus complex thing, like, it just does not pass the sniff test, even as a child, as an adult. Nowhere in between does that pass the sniff test, if you're anywhere normal at all.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of crazy that they got away with it passing the sniff test for so long, and that it's taught in, like, normal mainstream colleges and universities and community colleges. And no one's asking any questions about this. That is pretty weird.
Yeah, and there's so much more that, like, about him, like Wilhelm Fleece, by the way. If you want to look up this guy, Wilhelm Fleece, Fleece is spelled F-L-E-I-S-S. This was Sigmund Freud's best friend, and according to this guy, Jeffrey Masson, also his lover. You know, and he similarly molested his son. And so he was seeing all of these people. Wilhelm Fleece's son is Robert Fleece, and Robert Fleece came out and said that he was molested by his father. So there was an entire psychoanalytic community of disgusting people, and they created a social science, because that's what psychology is. It's a social science to see if you could gaslight people about their experiences. So it was the first thing that came to my mind when I was like, is Jordan Peterson just trying to gaslight me? And it produced a report, and people that were like, he didn't name names. He literally named my name not only in the report for saying Christ is king, which I'm like, you're going to pretend I became a Christian? My first book was published in 2018, and I wrote about my biblical upbringing with my grandfather and included biblical quotes all throughout. You're not going to gaslight me about my Christianity. I've declared Christ as king my entire life. But to see that message of someone who doesn't declare Christ as king, believes in psychology, believes in his own, like...
No, he doesn't even believe in his own level. I mean, clean your room, Jordan. We've all seen the clip of Jordan's room. Like, you know, raise your kids in a way that's like... There's, and I mean, I don't even want to go into the other things with sort of like pathologizing you, the healthy Catholic woman that's raising, you know, soon to be 4 kids, versus pathologizing Jordan. It's not a comfortable conversation to have when you start looking at it, you know, clearly, and it's so backwards that he would try to pathologize you in his case.
And what's funny is that a psychopath is Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Ted Bundy. Jeffrey Dahmer is a bit of a stretch. And it's kind of funny, and I don't care, and I'm pretty happy about this stuff. And I think that's kind of one of the things, this newer movement, now that we have access to information and we kind of know that all of the experts are BS, it doesn't make me feel heavy. It makes me feel light. Like, we can stop believing in this burden of the idea of the expert. But I wanted to show people this because it's important to see how often they do this, where they just call us all psychopaths if we don't do what they want. Skylar, can you bring up the article of Trump supporters being psychopaths, like female Trump supporters? And it's the exact same language. Female Trump supporters exhibit slightly elevated subclinical psychopathy, study finds. And it goes into, again, the dark triad, the dark tetrad of traits that they have. Then there's like the Science Direct one during COVID. I think I put a link in there. Let's check this one out here too, where the COVID-19 prevention behavior is differentially motivated by primary psychopathy, narcissism, and vulnerable dark triad traits. Like, this is what they do. It's like, if you don't do what we want you to do, we will accuse you of being a psychopath. And it's like, dude, I just want to see my grandma during COVID, and I kind of like Trump. Like, am I a psycho? Like, I'm not Ted Bundy.
Yeah, or just like, I want to believe what Anthony Fauci himself said about masks 3 months ago at the start of COVID. And now I just want to believe what he said about herd immunity 3 months ago in official statements, and then suddenly it's the opposite. But I'm a psychopath for all that. And I think that during COVID, we got a certain flavor of getting over trust the experts. And a lot of people woke up to the fact that, like, these health experts can be controlled. But now the Douglas Murray thing, the Jordan Peterson thing, and everyone that's been in between there, I think it's kind of waking us up to, it's all experts. It's not just those ones. It's also those ones, and also those ones. And it's not just the ones in the White House or in, that kind of field. It's also the ones that are coming on our podcast. It's also the ones that are going out and doing media appearances. And I think people are starting to wake up to the big picture.
And I think the big picture makes us ask questions about, what is university really about? right?
Oh,
What
yeah.
is university actually about? And it is a way to just indoctrinate people into these various cults of understanding, believing in their own expertise, but not even knowing where their expertise like originates from. And that's why I said going backwards and speaking about Hollywood, reading these books, these old books, or reading this newer book from Jeffrey Masson where he kind of goes back and he just tells the truth. I just read Sigmund Freud's own pieces of paper, and in his own studies and his own journals and his own diaries, and he still got gaslit and called all of these things and had to fight for his life and his reputation. And I feel blessed. I don't know this guy, I haven't reached out, but that I can finally give a platform for this man who fought such a noble fight to expose the entire field of psychology. But what are we to think of the fact that they knew this and Sigmund Freud is still celebrated in our universities, Ian?
The thing that I think immediately is if you look at the timing there, it's like 1890s, 1900s, kind of like turn of the century, like the Gilded Age, the Industrial Revolution is peaked, and we're talking, that's the robber barons, the Federal Reserve is about to be founded, like that's the JP Morgans of this world, that's the, if I'm not mistaken, the Carnegies and the Vanderbilts. That is the era of sort of like this peak wealth disparagement between this upper class, this lower class, but very tight media control. Like, most people are still illiterate. Most people, there's not TV or any kind of information dissemination yet. So they existed in a world where you had these extremely wealthy elites
Poop
doing
bucket,
Lord
what a
knows what,
retard.
that they would need people like Sigmund Freud.
Nobody
explaining
knows
these
what
things,
dry cabin
right?
living
And they're
is
sitting
in
on the
today's
train
world.
where
Aren't there enough TikTokers at this point that everyone knows what living in a dry cabin is?
Sides and stuff
So we have a fucking
pretty well
porta
underway
potty.
by 1900, but they hadn't yet gotten the Federal Reserve. So we're in this era where the powerful elite of the world, these globalist elites of the world, like they were at the top of their game and about to perform their greatest coup d'etat of all time, which was the Federal Reserve.
Okay, stay.
So I'm just looking at the timing there
does
of
not
when
signal
Freud
you-
kind of gave them this
Go back.
nugget.
No.
And I'm not surprised that he's protected. I'm not surprised that he got built into all those Ivy League institutions because they had so much power and control at that time. And it was a time when they, like, if you look back in history, there's some eras, like the Iran-Contra era, where the deep state clearly fumbled the ball multiple times. But then there's
Get out of
certain
the
eras
kitchen.
where the deep state, whatever groups are in there, clearly were nailing it. And like the 1900s to 1930s era is, let's just say they were really on point. They
And what's
nailed it.
interesting is that all of these perverts actually came from the same region. Like their origin stories, and I'm really pointing this out in our Hollywood Babylon reading, is like as we keep speaking about these founders of Hollywood, the founders of movies, these founders of propaganda.
Yeah, you should get those,
they
like,
all
rolling
came from like the
things. That'd be
same
cool.
region
All right,
in
get out of the
Eastern
kitchen.
Europe,
Out,
and it was in a
go,
time
go.
where they were trying to overthrow Christian empires. I mean, you and I spoke about this even with like LBJ's family. Like LBJ's family, they were the 1845ers left, trying to overthrow Germany. It failed. I think it was the 1845 revolution. It might be the 1848 revolution, actually, of Germany. It was like all of these communists were trying to overthrow these Christian empires. The Russian Tsar gets assassinated. And then all of these Eastern European, I would say I'm pretty sure Sigmund Freud was the kingdom of Galicia. His family's from, he's a Galician Jew. And they come over to America, and kind of the story that we're told is, everyone just came with the clothes in their back and like made it big in Hollywood or made it big in modern psychology. And I'm like, no, America was a young country. We were very susceptible to all of these things that, like you just said, that we didn't understand. But there is so much more here that meets the eye, and it's only through actually engaging and reading these books that would never become movies. These books that you are not allowed to read, that you can truly understand like what's happened in this country, because we all recognize that something's not right. And a huge piece of this is psychology. What is the modern media? What was MK Ultra? Why did the CIA invest in journalists? It's all about controlling our minds. And they think that all you need is an expert to get up there and tell you something's psychopathic or someone's crazy or someone, Britney Spears needs to go on a Psych 5150 hold, or Kanye's talking about Christ and he's got to go on a Psych 5150 hold. And we need to be like, no, what was this person trying to say that you have suddenly made me think they were totally fine for 20 years and suddenly like, no, Michael Jackson's like Wacko Jacko.
Yeah. And I mean, Hollywood Babylon is a perfect book to highlight that, because they don't really focus on where people are from, but they do clearly focus on the moral degradation of America through Hollywood, and how those Hollywood executives knew what they were doing and were doing it intentionally, and it was illegal. Like the things that they were publishing were so morally reprehensible to the culture that America used to have, that they were illegal, and they actually had to like slow walk it over time. And you can see in that book how different American morals and virtue used to be, and how it slowly was degraded through movies and music and propaganda, psychology, and now we wind up in this world today where like on your Twitter feed is the OnlyFans girl, that the two OnlyFans girls, they're having this horrible competition that I don't even want to talk about because I hate how people platform it. It's like just in our normal lives all the time. So.
But that is what we were speaking about last time about pornography being a spiritual weapon, and this was literally imported over to America, and people need to understand that. It's like Hollywood introduced these concepts, and it was a war with this Christian culture that they wanted to collapse. And I would say probably, by the time you get to the 1960s is when they really kind of started proliferating that pattern, and that's why that book Chaos is just amazing, because you realize they've always been into these weird sex cults. Even Hollywood Babylon telling you that these directors who came from Germany would protect the sets and like make them have these sexual orgies as they were creating films about Babylon, about Egypt. And so there is sort of this underbelly of a demonic religion is really what I took away from this book, because and we talk about this in my book club a lot. But what did they believe in? What are you actually? What are these people? These aren't Abrahamic faiths. This is not Judaism.
I mean, they speak clearly about their hate for Christianity.
Yes.
And their disdain for Christianity.
Right.
And a lot of those communist revolutionaries in that 1900 era were explicit that their goal was to overthrow Christian religion and Christian nations. So,
and it was successful. I mean, the
absolutely.
most assassinations of like the king of Italy, I think it was Umberto the First. The person who assassinated him was motivated by Emma Goldman. I was speaking to you about her. That woman,
rabbit hole.
that whole rabbit hole that flies under the radar, that introduced feminism to America by like controlling Margaret Sanger. Everything that we know about our history is totally fake, and it really does make you wonder if we are living in the Matrix. Like when you see this stuff, you're like, wait, it is totally plausible. Nothing is real. The media is not real. Emmanuel Macron being president isn't real. They put people up, fuck them, make them leaders, give them degrees, and make you think these people are experts, and your entire life is being guided by them. And I'm like, what are we doing in like the Matrix? Like, this is totally, reality is not what it actually is, but people seem to be like, giving up.
It's like, there's the kind of report, like these types of stories are the ones that you make the genuine question, is there some sort of Illuminati conspiracy going on here? Because a lot of days it's easy for me to fall back into kind of mundane conspiracy. Like, yeah, that corporation is conspiring with that billionaire is conspiring in that one thing. And all that does happen. But when you look at these bigger pictures, like the gender ideology stuff, communism stuff, the control of Hollywood and the music industry, those are the places where it does really make there's actual evidence. It's not just harebrained feelings, like ever. And when you look at it happening over and over and over again across many generations of musicians, many generations of movie stars, that is not the kind of thing that is evidence of one little conspiracy or group. That is the evidence of a large control mechanism somehow operating, like a cult or a mob or
both.
Secret society, call it what you want.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When I before I got baptized Catholic, I just remember one of the priests said that to me in English. He was like a very ornery English priest, and he was like, he literally said to me, like, you Americans know nothing about your own history. Like America was founded by Freemasons, and I was just like, and I'm still reading. I'm still reading, and I don't know. There's actually a book that I'm reading right now that I can't wait to finish. It's called The Secret Founding of America. Already my mind is blown. Like everything we even know about the Mayflower, we are just one big movie that we have been watching. And if you don't do due diligence by yourself, and you have the public education system, and the worst part is you think you're educated. So if you got all A's, you take pride in the fact that you got a degree. And that's the problem with all of these degrees, is that it sort of artificially inflates your ego. It's like one of the first lines of attack is like, you don't even have a degree, or you don't even have, he doesn't know anything, he's not an expert. And the reason for that is because they have to keep people in that artificial bubble of thinking that their degree means something, because what the degree actually means is that you have completed a course in your own miseducation. And it not only is your own miseducation, and we made you pay for it. How completely
Going
crazy
into
is
debt
that?
for it. Going into debt is different than paying for it. Create fake money that didn't exist before, that you don't have, that you're going to be paying off for the next 20 years, the rest of your life, whatever it is.
And the psychology, you're going to be a failure if you don't go to college. If you don't go to college and learn about feminism and this and that.
but they will repackage your debt and collateralize it and then make money off it 4 ways till Sunday while you work to pay it off.
You're already enslaved, I think, before you're enslaved economically before you even get into the real world.
Yeah.
I'm going to just read a couple of ads. First and foremost, throwing it to preborn. You guys know how much I love preborn. We live in a culture that tells women that motherhood is a burden, that choosing life is the end of their freedom. Well, that's a lie. Preborn is the nation's largest pro-life organization that stands for truth. They believe that women deserve better than abortion, and they're proving it every single day through free ultrasounds and compassionate care for up to 2 years after the baby is born. Preborn is helping women see their strength, their value, and their future. When a woman sees her baby by ultrasound, she is twice as likely to choose life, not because someone forced her to, but because she saw the truth for herself. This is about empowering women to make informed decisions and showing them they're not alone. To give, just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby. Or you can donate securely at preborn.com/Candace. That's preborn.com/Candace. Also, tax day may have passed, but for millions of Americans, the real trouble is just beginning. If you missed the April 15th deadline or you still owe back taxes, the IRS is ramping up enforcement. Every day you wait only makes things worse, with over 5,000 new tax liens filed daily in tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments. The IRS is applying pressure at levels that we have not seen in years. Increased administrative scrutiny means collections are moving fast. The good news is that there is still time for Tax Network USA to help you. Self-employed or business owner, doesn't matter. Even if your books are a mess, they have got you covered. Tax Network USA specializes in cleaning up financial chaos and getting you back on track fast. Even after the deadline, it is not too late to regain control. Your consultation will be completely free, and acting now could stop penalties, the threatening letters, and all of the surprises before they escalate. So call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. Like I said, you may have missed April 15th, but you have not run out of options. So let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes their next move. 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Candace. I feel like we're already in a lot of trouble, so that's great. We'll just keep going because, we'll just keep talking about all the things that we're not allowed to talk about. And one of the things that drives me crazy is when they take out these clips out of context, and even when they write the articles, they're like, Candace Owens says Sigmund Freud. I'm like, Sigmund Freud protected pedophiles. I'm like, I didn't say that. Like, the director of the Sigmund Freud Archive Center said this, who worked under Anna Freud and read his work. And even just that little piece of removing something, it tries to make us all sound like we're crazy.
Bingo.
Why do they do this? Because they need people not to get to the source, not to get to the truth. But it's not working right now.
It's not, and it's the only thing they really seem to have in their arsenal is either censorship, shut it all down, or try to play on that sort of brain barrier they built into everyone they've educated in terms of, like, you can't listen to that person, they're a kook. Don't listen to Candace, she's a psycho. But the problem is that they only have to hear you once in your original form, and they just have to hear more than 15 seconds, and then suddenly the next 10 seconds they go, wait a minute. You didn't share that other part that she said where she gave the source, right? And ironically, often people in our shoes are so much better about sharing our sources because it matters to us. A, because we care, because it's the right thing to do, but B, because our livelihood is on the line. And if you don't share your sources, you're in big trouble. Whereas the mainstream media rarely shares their sources, and often when they do, like Politico is famous. My favorite thing about Politico is they'll share their sources and you'll see a link to other Politico articles, and you'll see little Politico circles around from article to article without any actual science sources.
It's all fluff. And that's what I say. It's just all fluff. It's all made up words. It's one big circle jerk. It's all of them just saying, we're the experts and we've just said this. It's, what do you have to do? You just have to make a report and say, I'm a doctor and I have a PhD. And so I'm saying if this person's Ted Bundy. And the thing that really bothered me about the psychopath classification is I'm going, wait a second. That indicates that I have violent tendencies. Like, what have I done in my life for you to be able to just go out there and be like, you know what, I'm just going to call this person violent. This person could potentially rise to violence because he's declaring that Christ is king. Completely nutty. But something that I really loved was, I really loved Tim Pool's response to this. And why I loved it is because Tim Pool is like, the guy in the beanie, right? Yeah. Who's running a podcast with a skateboard studio. And he just cuts right through the Jordan Peterson BS of pretending that we're all too stupid to recognize what you're doing, with now trying to diagnose people who simply disagree with you, who have a different perspective than you. So let's just show that Tim Pool clip. I thought it was actually pretty awesome.
The problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is Cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, where they have dark tetrad traits. They're Machiavellian.
I'm sorry, dark tetrad. I said triad. I was wrong.
Sadistic. That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is, and they adopt those ideas, and they put themselves even on the forefront of that.
Right.
But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right?
Okay, let's pause real quick because that's him basically saying Candace Owens. Okay, so I've got the tweet from. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Right, here you go. Jordan Peterson tweeted, Candace Owens is a true pharisaical pretender. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to evaluate perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She is literally using God's name in vain. There are few more unforgivable sins.
What?
Jordan Peterson says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You are like whitewashed tombs, to appear beautiful on the outside, but inside are full of dead men's bones and every kind of filth. Oh! Yo! Okay.
Oh,
This is
boy,
some kind
Jordan.
of like inter-factional beef. When Jordan Peterson mentions the cluster B, dark tetrad individuals, they go to where power is. That's the corporate press right now. That's what all of that was.
Oh.
The reason why they're marching in lockstep, the reason they're lying, is because they're not there to seek truth, they're there to seek power and influence. I work for some of these organizations. The reason people get jobs there is because they want the platform to get followers, they want to be famous. They don't, they tell you things like, I always wanted to be a muckraker, like Nellie Bly, I wanted to be like her. You're like, oh, so you're looking for vanity and attention. Okay, that's a bit if you want to emulate good behaviors, it's fine. But typically, for a lot of these people, they're not saying they wanted to do the good work. They're saying they wanted that position and reverence that came with it.
They proclaim moral virtue. Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They invade the idea space, and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage. And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more particularly.
Cool.
Because the left had to face it when they were in power. How do you identify the psychopathic parasites? 4% of the population who are clothed in your clothing,
Not naming any names.
your flag,
Your
but
clothes.
who are
No, did Homie just call Candace Owens a psychopathic parasite? Come on. Look, I tweeted after this clip saying, at Dr. Peterson, like, who are you referring to? He called Candace Owens a Pharisee, a pharisaical pretender using the word names in vain. He then does this segment, this bit. They've got this document he put out. Yo, he's literally calling her a psychopathic parasite.
Backing it up.
It's just like, Tim will just like run up his rights like right away. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just have the courage at least to just at me and call me a bitch. I can deal with that. I'm a big girl, but like trying to dress it up in a report and use your like psychology degree to do it, all because you're upset because like I must have been working on this since I was a kid. Because like I said, my first book just recounts the entire story of how my grandfather insisted on us doing biblical study every morning at breakfast.
The worst
and
place
how
ever.
committed to his faith he was.
I love you
And
so
I must
much,
have been
but
like
you
so
are in the
committed
way
to this
right now.
game that I started it when I was 7 years old with my granddad.
That's why you're so good at it,
what
really,
I'm
is
good.
because, I mean, in order to be a real, what is it, pharisaical pretender parasite, you know, you got to get them started young. And I just love how he uses so much jargony baloney to say, you know, essentially what, like I'm not saying that Jordan is doing that, but he sure is getting close to
you're
the
gonna have
sun
to move now.
where
I'm moving a box.
we're having
Come on,
discussions with sources
go,
about what
go,
we're seeing in the
come on.
news, the way that our
I'll give you a
like,
treat. Let's
journalists
go.
are supposed
Come
to
on.
do. And now we have a psychologist weaseling his way in there to get into the discussion and say, like, no, stop talking like you're psycho, you're a parasite, shut it down, I have big words. It's like, okay, bro, you're not a part of this discussion because we're talking about stuff on the surface. Do you want to talk about the facts? Do you want to call us a liar? Like, do you want to discuss the evidence that we're talking about, or just call everybody names?
And I'm, by the way, and that's the thing, is he's too above us to just be like, you know what, she pissed me off, take off your hoops and just say some mean stuff to me. I can deal with that. Like, that's totally fine. Just don't dress this up like you're above an ad hominem attack and you've, like, thought about this clinically and psychologically. Like, it's just a different time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different time. Like, the Gen Zers are not going to go for this. The millennials, everybody's waking up and we can smell
my
it
love.
as soon as you drop it. Like, that's why I love Tim Pool just
So I got this
destroying this in a beanie.
16
Like, bro, we saw your tweet like 2 weeks ago. Now you're on a tour saying the same thing. And so the only thing that Tim Pool gets wrong is I don't know if this is some factional beef. It's not.
Yeah.
There isn't any factional beef. Jordan,
I've never heard you
if
say-
you are watching,
yeah, like-
you can come sit in this chair. I think it really just goes down to me being able to see through it, you know? And I think that when people feel seen and people can, she just called me out for kind of like not living according to how I tell people to live, it kind of makes people go into a bit of a spiral. But I don't have any beef. I want Jordan Peterson to be the person that he writes about in his book. I want him to be an example to young men. We need more examples to young men. It's not personal for me. It's just not personal for me.
And I think that a lot of these people that are,
What is this?
continuing
Yeah,
this
it's that.
gaslighting
Yeah, and
campaign,
it matches
both
my
the ones in front of
dresser
the screen
perfectly. It
and probably
matches
the
that
ones
other
on
one
the screen. I think
perfectly.
a lot of them are
Oh my
probably
God.
older people. And I think a lot of them don't understand
Thank
the
you,
exact
TikTok.
power of the way social
God, I
media
love
really
free
does
shit.
spread and the way that people really do. Like, I don't think they realize how much better the audience
Really?
of young
Say.
people is at reading comments and at checking the like ratios and at checking.
Oh my God,
reposts
it's
and at, like,
literally
getting the whole
it
side of the
matches
story.
perfectly.
I don't
It's
think they
the
realize how much
exact
they're failing
same.
at this because they actually
Fuck
don't know
yeah.
how to use the medium anywhere near as well as the audience does. And so they're just continually blundering and blundering and blundering. And Douglas Murray and Jordan Peterson are two examples, but they are stark examples of these sort of like
All the
kind
drawers.
of dinosaur-y neocons trying these outdated tactics to really just make you look better.
Go
I
lay
know.
down.
Thank you. I'm like, I'm not clothed in anything. I can barely fit anything right now. I'm doing this week.
Yeah.
I'm doing 4 days. I'm not trying to wear anybody else's clothes, okay?
And for like how much of a ride you've been on and how
Oh my
big
God,
you've
it
blown
has
up, you're like
tiny
one of the
little
least
dresser.
narcissistic
Yay.
people in this entire industry. And I've met a lot of people in this industry by now, and a lot of them are great, but there are some narcissists in this industry. You're definitely not one of them. You're super chill.
I just genuinely just want to have fun and talk about ideas with people on the internet, and I feel so much blessed. You know, I have a husband that loves me. I have children that I'm literally obsessed with. I think they're just like the most adorable people in the world, and I want people to find that happiness. And I really do think that it only comes from not looking to the external world for approval. You know what I mean? Like actually knowing that I have things that can't be taken away from me, and to lay your head on the pillow every night, you know that you're just telling the truth. And if you get it wrong, but you have the humility to go back, and I seen you do this, and I do this, and I go, you know what? I said this, and that was actually not right. So I want to update that. And I'm just so happy that we're moving into that energy, that like the mainstream media is failing, the experts are failing, and people are angry about Ian Carroll. Like, I love when I watch people go on like an Ian Carroll angry spiral, because I'm like, he's so happy and he doesn't care about this. He's gonna keep making videos. You're literally being triggered by a guy whose TikTok says, yeah, not an expert, but interested. Like, you're interested.
Yep.
And people appreciate that.
Just trying to learn stuff and have fun. And yeah, like Douglas Murray trying to pose to Joe that I was an expert. My literal Twitter bio says not an expert in anything but sarcasm. And you're so right that it's water off your back. And you said something really important that I want to highlight, is that when you have like love in your human relationships in your real life with real connections with real people that fill you up every day, the internet is just, a game that you play on your phone, and it does not matter. And I think that unfortunately America is so full of people without love in their immediate life, without real connections, without marriages that are happy, without parental relationships that are happy, that a lot of people actually are missing real human connection. And so the internet becomes this stand-in for human connection, but the internet is, especially X, is made to feed off of hatred and anger and arguments, and the algorithm's really good at feeding too. And so many people get turned into rage bots when they really are a good person in their own heart. They just don't have anything filling their heart up to help them stay in that energy. And
that's why I think people need God. I really do. 100%. I think people need God, and it's like you just need to fill yourself spiritually with something else. But like I said, it's been a really nice pivot. I am trying to make predictions for Hollywood because you and I were kind of saying before we went live that there's so many pieces that are coming together at the exact same time. And it's beautiful because it is bringing together the left and the right, which we never thought was going to happen ever. And that's why I had been obsessed, and I know you don't know much about it, with this Blake Lively case, but what is at its core is really kind of the end of Hollywood. It's realizing that the people that we put up on these platforms are not good people, that these are the people that are egotistical and maniacal and just want to get their way and care so much about that positive feedback from the audience they're willing to do or say anything. And you probably know just a little bits about the Blake Lively case.
I followed a little bit, yeah.
It was not a publishing thing, by the way. It's like just wanted to destroy this guy, Justin Baldoni, to take his movie. Anyways, she's been doing press for her next movie, which is A Simple Favor 2. And because we got to watch, and what was so unique about this case was we had a woman who made an allegation, being Blake, and if you read it, it sounds horrific.
Are you
what
talking
she
to
said
me?
was done to her on set. You look at Justin Baldoni and you go,
I can't
"He
hear
must
you,
be,
what?"
Like, basically close to being a rapist.
Okay.
If you just read her complaint. Then they dropped the footage of the moment. That is what is so unbelievable, Ian, is we got to actually watch her, quote unquote, sexual harassment, and it was just the exact opposite of what she said happened. And that is what has outraged people. It's because the New York Times gave us a vision, she gave us a vision, and then we got to see the thing, and people were very frustrated. So she recently appears at this gala, and over the weekend, because she got honored by Time Gala for being a wonderful person, for donating to Black Lives Matter in 2019. It makes no sense, but like very good PR.
City's got to burn,
well spent
Candace.
money.
City's got to burn.
And so how she tries to get out of this PR is she brings her mom to this Time Gala and she gives a speech about how her mom was like sexually assaulted or raped. Like you're just going to grift off of somebody else's incidents. Yeah. And I just want to play a little bit of her speech because I just didn't even know what to make of this PR move of like, okay, I maybe got caught making stuff up, but let me tell you about what my mom lived through in the 80s. Take a listen to this.
My mom never got justice from her work acquaintance who attempted to take her life when she was the mother of 3 young kids years before I was born. She has always credited her beating heart today with the story she heard from another woman in a similar circumstance, speaking on the radio as my mom drove home one day, entirely unaware of the future ahead in which she would call upon this critical moment to save her own life. The woman painfully and graphically shared how she escaped. And because of hearing that woman speak to her experience instead of shutting down in fear and unfair shame, my mom is alive today. She was saved by a woman whose name she'll never know. I am alive and standing here with you all today, being honored because of a woman whose name I'll never know. I am here and my mom is here because that woman not only survived, but she told others how.
Ian, your thoughts? This is just a PR move I've never seen. It's like I got caught with my pants down lying. And so I'm just going to kind of grift off of, and like, you know, if I have obviously, like if that happened to her mother, that's terrible. It's awful. Yeah. I'm glad her mother survived it. But this is the PR move.
Maybe the wrong strategy. If you get caught being a fake rape accuser, essentially, maybe don't go grifting off of other rape situations
like Justin Smollett just is like, you know what? I got caught with this fake news in this Subway sandwich, but let me tell you about my great uncle.
He was the victim of racism.
He actually, let me just hold his hand right here.
And I'm only here today to be the fake victim of racism because my great grandpappy was really a victim of racism. That's so bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's a bizarre PR move to be like, I'm just gonna grift off of somebody who actually did survive something because I got caught with the Subway sandwich and the noose in the Arctic Chicago weather, and my name's Justin Smollett, but I know people who actually did get lynched. Or
I do have black friends,
Candace. Do have black friends. It feels like that. Like it feels like I have black friends kind of a moment here. Yeah. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, this is what I mean. They don't get that the public is not going for this. Like the public can just see through this. Again, nothing personal against her mother. Yeah. Like I'm sure her mother lived through all that and like that, but it's just, what?
Well, it's also like from a technical standpoint, it was kind of a confusing telling of a story because if I heard her right, it was that her mom had heard an account of a survivor, and then during an abuse situation, her mom was in that other accounting, had inspired her mom to. It was a confusing story a little bit, and so from like a storyteller's perspective, as as we are people that communicate for a living, I was a little lost on what actually the story was and what the gala was not about. Was the gala about rape at all?
The gala, she was being honored for giving money to, this was also weird and confusing, for giving money to BLM when she gave it really as a hostage because people were mad at her because she got married on a plantation.
Awkward.
And
in
so
every direction.
she gave money to BLM, and the woman was like, we're honoring her for time now. And then she brought her mom and spoke. I mean, the entire thing is just, the public is stupid. We're going to get out of this one. Don't worry. And you're not. Like, let me tell you guys, I don't care who you are, just tell the truth. We are very clearly in the age of just tell the effing truth, okay? Yeah. We'll take it, whatever it is. Even, I swear, this could have been done months ago. All she had to do was be like, you know what? I was tripping. I want Blake to just be like, I was tripping.
Yep.
And I'd be like, I respect that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I respect that.
Exactly.
Women, we get a little cray-cray.
I mean, Brigitte Macron would have done well to do the exact same thing. Listen, Candace, I'm sorry. I was tripping. I know I kind of married my nephew allegedly, but that would still have been a better move than what they did.
I was tripping. I don't even know why I married my nephew like that. And I'd be like, I'm glad you were at least here.
Whoopsie daisies.
So funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple more sponsors that I wanted to throw it to. American Financing, you guys, interest rates have dropped and it's time to take advantage. A lot of Americans are struggling to keep up with everyday bills, eggs, coffee, and many are reaching for the credit cards to pay for this. If you're a homeowner, interest rates have fallen into the 5s. It's nearly a quarter of the average credit card rate. American Financing is helping homeowners like you save an average of $800 a month by tapping into your home's equity and wiping out high interest debt. And the best part is there are no upfront fees to get started. Credit card rates are insane. And if you're carrying a balance every month, you're stuck in an endless cycle. So break free today. Call American Financing and see how much you could be saving. And if you start now, you may even delay the next 2 mortgage payments. So call 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or you can visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens, AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Also, 7 Weeks Coffee. You already drink coffee. You might as well do some good. It's America's pro-life coffee company on a mission to fund the pro-life movement, 1 cup of coffee at a time. They're called 7 Weeks Coffee because it's 7 weeks a baby is the size of a coffee bean. And at the same time, a heartbeat is clearly detected on an ultrasound. And that's why they donate 10% of every sale to support pregnancy care centers across the country. They have raised over $800,000 for these centers, and they've saved thousands of lives. And I'm going to tell you about the coffee because it's great, mold-free, pesticide-free, shade-grown, low acid, and it's organically farmed, so it checks all the boxes. Right now, if you subscribe to 7 Weeks Coffee, you're going to get a free 2-pack of their new single-serve brew bags to take your coffee wherever life takes you. Whether you're traveling, working, adventuring, you can easily enjoy a rich, flavorful cup of coffee by adding hot water and just letting the to-go bag steep for a few minutes. So go to 7weekscoffee.com and save 15% forever when you subscribe. Plus, exclusively for my listeners, if you use code Candace, you'll get an extra 10% off your first order. That's 25% total savings on your first order. So visit 7weekscoffee.com and use code Candace today. Okay, Ian, we have to tell them now. We're already up to an hour, which is crazy. I can talk to you forever. People want to know what the schedule is going to be, when you're going to be taking over for me. They want to know when I'm having this baby, when I'm going to be back. Guys, these
baby's already here, yo. You didn't hear?
Yeah, he's right here. He's right here.
You didn't tell them, Candace?
Guys, babies decide when they're going to come. I have no control over this. I'm not scheduling an induction. I'm just going to let this little dude decide what he wants to do. And hopefully it's an easy birth, and so I'll be back whenever. But Ian, they want to know your schedule, what days you're going to be covering, and anything you can tell us about the topics.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to swear.
I can
no
pull
swearing.
it off.
Remember, I'm being a fake Christian, so my psychopathic.
Don't worry,
Christian
I can be a fake Christian too, Candace. I can do it. I mean, my fake earpiece is falling out, so right. I'm like, I need to pull out my calendar to make sure I get the dates right.
I think it's May 12th is when you start.
Yeah, May 12th is the first day I'll be here.
Did you say 10th, Skylar?
Yeah, May 12th is that Monday. And then we'll probably be doing 3 episodes a week. And if I'm really crushing it and keeping up, because you work hard, you guys put out a lot of shows, and I mean it takes a lot of research and such. So if we're crushing 3 days a week, we might move up to 4. But you set a high bar, and so then I'll be here until you need me to be here, right? And I've got a few other things. I just
like it so much I keep him here forever.
It's pretty sweet here in Nashville, and it's pretty sweet. Your team is awesome. But I'm scheduled to be here for up to 8 weeks. give or take. And, if something goes crazy, I'll be here until you need me. And if you're ready to come back early, then you come back early.
And if he has like a super exciting topic, I'm going to jump in, obviously, for random stuff. I was telling him I'm beginning to look into like the Idaho 4, Brian Koberger stuff. So he, in a dangerous combination. I see why they hate us. I actually totally empathetic about, I'm like, you know what? We are just so
being
interested.
On the lying team.
Yeah,
it's rough being on Team Lies.
Exactly, they're
but
lying,
a hard job.
And they hate us for telling the truth. But I'm definitely going to pop in occasionally. I will be keeping up the book club, so don't worry about any of that. Guys, I'm going to get to some of your questions and comments that you guys are rolling in before we get out of here. Brittany Douglas writes, "Happy early birthday, Candace." That's right. Tomorrow is my birthday. I'm hoping it's also my birthday. So let's hope that this little guy just makes an appearance tomorrow on my birthday. I will be turning 36 years old. And this person writes, 89 babies are the best. That is true.
Oh my God,
but
my
not
sister's
Taylor
gonna be
Swift until we see her
36
text
this
messages.
year.
We cannot confirm if 1989 babies are the best, Ian. Uchicha Itachi, I love this, okay, writes, "The question is, what will we do if Justin suddenly dies?" Man, you just went there. Uchicha just went there.
Yeah, I was trying not to get
Let's
that
not
dark
go
in my
there,
episode
Uchicha.
about
We're
it.
like happy and light. No, they need exposure.
And to be fair, I think that now that we're all reporting on it, I don't think they can go there.
No.
Like, there is a certain element where, as media figures, we can run protection for these people, and we do, and we should. That would be pretty obvious, Harley.
Harley Pasternak, if you're watching,
Yeah.
we're not buying the bathtub story, okay?
Yeah. Maybe don't send him away to La La Land.
It's all no La La Land, okay? Or it's not going down, Harley, so chill out. Sarah writes, "Candace, tell them about the Netflix Freud connection." Sarah's in the book club. Also, the Freud family started Netflix.
Whoa.
Yeah, crazy. I'll get you the guy's name. Actually, I'll
Whoa,
look that up.
talk about mind control.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so it's all modern media, and it's been the same family.
I didn't know that.
Oh, he's already pulled it up. My producer's so much faster than me, so embarrassing. Mark Bernays Randolph. Yeah, he is the co-founder and the first CEO of Netflix, and he is from the Freud family. So you see there, it says one of Randolph's paternal great-granduncles was psychoanalysis pioneer Sigmund Freud.
You can learn a lot in the early life section.
Edward Bernays
That's
was
wild.
his great uncle, and so that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like they've been in control forever. And so when you see these, Netflix is doing a deep dive on something, you really got to ask yourself, oh, well, are you guys going to do a special on Sigmund Freud? We're going to go there. They got a lot of power in media. They've always had power in media, and they've had power in terms of shaping our minds. Sarah, love you from the book club. Bloop, that's a great name too, writes, Candace's election is today. It's actually Canada. Candace's
She's
election.
narcissistic, probably a psychopath. What are you going to do?
The dark
about it?
triad just became me, and I just said that I was being elected. It wasn't me.
It's hard to keep the act up all
Sorry,
the time. Candace.
Canada's election. The Freudian slip. Canada's election is today. Please pray for us. Because of your content, I've started to notice the media push propaganda worldwide. Side note, I'm a black woman who used to hate you, and now I love you. I love you too, girl. I love you too. Don't worry. It's okay. I say I'm an acquired taste. I get it. I feel like I was even that way for my sisters. I don't think they were sure about me until I was 8,
Especially early on, yeah.
Yeah, they were like,
I mean, you were saying some uncomfortable truths all along.
Yeah, I'm acquired. S writes, "Candace, can't watch as exams are coming for me. Have an amazing leave and hope everything is blessed. I hope you guys have woken up the masses, that people are aware of these world leaders and blind extremist ideologies." Yes, yeah, I mean, TikTokers going through grocery aisles, which is how Ian started, which is why I really enjoy the conspiracy theories about him. I'm like, guys, no, he's been around. He's just been in grocery aisles.
Yeah, I've been looking at all the tampons, trying to figure out who owns the tampons and the Fruit Loops. And
Yeah, he's been doing work. You need to go back and look through his catalog, because it's actually super interesting. I've just banned red dyes from my house. I'm getting a little cray-cray about it, yeah.
Yep.
Oracle writes, "Any thoughts on the death of the Pope during the Passover sacrificial hour?" I think there's a lot of deep meaning in a lot of the things that are happening. Change, respectfully, obviously, pray for his soul. I genuinely I am just a shift. There's just vibes, or I just feel like there has just been a real shift, is what I would say, about the Pope passing. Misty writes, "All of society is set up to separate us from nature and God. Our homes, jobs, clothes, and food are all synthetic. Very few jobs are absolutely essential to keep society going. Everything else is entertainment to distract from our God-given life."
Yep. Not only to distract you from your God-given life, but to fill up the hole in your soul that you're no longer God-given, no longer godly life
leaves you with. It's like selling
That
you
is
this,
why I am whole
drug
feeling
or this
I am
distraction or this
so
gluttony or
unfazed
whatever
by
it
the
is,
trolling.
Yeah, people
All
really
profit.
loved when you
Because
were
I
speaking
don't
about
care. You demons
pornography
can't
the
do
last time that
shit
you were
to
on
me.
here. If
Yeah.
you want to like reiterate what you were saying about
It's an epidemic.
I am full.
It's an epidemic in our culture.
whole
And the
inside.
thing about it is that everyone's uncomfortable to talk about it. Because like 98% of men, I don't make
I
up
don't
statistics,
care
but, like,
what you think.
basically all men are in some way
care what you
watching
do.
it and like, you know, a huge portion of them are in some way addicted to it and don't want to talk about it. And it's uncomfortable because like no one's proud of it really. And if you are proud of it, maybe you should examine that. And women don't really want to talk, like no one's really in a position to bring it up. And so the men on the internet kind of like someone's got to bring it up, right? And it's awkward for everyone that should be talking about it, and it's only not awkward for the people that are like in it, that are part of the problem. So
Right.
I think it's just inherently a conversation that we're going to have because now parents are realizing like how ingrained this is in their children's digital space, in their media space. And if you don't start talking about
They
it,
called me
if you don't start talking
crazy
about how to
because
protect
I
our
was
kids from it,
first. That's it.
I don't want to know where our world goes.
Right. They're
I mean,
getting everyone addicted to something early, and
Exactly.
pornography is a big piece of that puzzle because what is pornography to a 10-year-old boy,
Yeah.
right, is like just watching a woman holding a Gucci bag with her boobs out.
Bingo. It's one of the ones you can get young men addicted to without having to put something like in their mouth or in their body or in their clothes. Like when it's, you just have to put a billboard up and suddenly, you know, put an advertisement on, put it in their Instagram reel, and every single boy is forced to contend with, oh, I can just get free this in my phone infinitely forever. And especially that that's like a biological need that arises out of your own hormonal structure, that if you don't have a moral and like it's really a religious framework to protect you from that sin, for lack of a better word, that desire, then you're going to fall into that trap somehow. And then it's only more effective. We have robots coming, we have AI generation coming, and so like we're in a very disconnected world, and that just spells disconnection all the way to the max. And it's really tragic.
You know, Michael E. Jones, he was on the ADL's list for being Adolf Hitler. He was Adolf Hitler before I was Adolf Hitler, so he's like old school.
G for everything.
Exactly, but he did a whole book on the origins of pornography, talks a lot about the French Revolution, even where the word sadism comes from. And it's fascinating to learn that and to know that. Again, we don't know the origin stories, we just know that it's here. So I don't remember what the name of his book is because I'm very bad with book titles. Libido Dominandi, yes, Latin. And that is a good place to start as a man, I think. And woman, by the way. Women are addicted to porn too.
Yeah.
But
it's just a different kind of temptation. It's a different kind of grappling, right? And like men, all men growing up, you have to deal with that in your life. Your kids, your young boys are going to have to deal with it, and you as a man have to deal with that. You have to figure out, are you going to let this let this thing take part of your sovereignty away from you and part of your masculinity away from you, or are you going to realize that it's your responsibility to decide your relationship with it instead of letting it decide its relationship with you?
Yeah.
And it's just it's not easy. Like everyone gets it. It's not easy.
I mean, just have to start talking about it too. Like it's not easy, and you just got to try to overcome it. It is one of the weapons that, you know, psychological weapons that have been intentionally inflicted on American society.
But as more men deal with that, that will help free young women from thinking that this is what every man wants. And it'll help free young girls from growing up in a world where they think they have to sell their bodies in order to be high quality. Because nowadays we have this world full of men that don't want to address their side of that equation, but they do want to, like, I want to marry some like trad wife girl that's like perfect and has never had sex with any other men. Like, bro, are you living up to that standard right now too?
Yeah,
That's the conversation none of
question.
these, like, you know, manosphere people want to have, is like, are you the trad husband that goes with that trad wife?
It's such a great thought. I love that. See, that's just why I'm sad to leave. I can't believe this is my farewell episode. Now I'm just sad and crying.
You'll be back.
So long, farewell, adieu, adieu, adieu. Last person says, thank God you're looking into the Idaho 4 case. It has never made any sense. We'll miss you, Candace. I know. That is going to be just like, moms, you know what? Because we were just so shaken by the idea that this could happen on a college campus, and then they gave us like no details and nothing really made sense. They kind of locked it down, and somebody involved reached out to me, and I will be looking into that while I am on maternity leave. And if I find anything, I'll jump in and I'll get Ian down the rabbit hole. Ian are just going to be we're just going to be in rabbit holes. Like, we're just going to be in backyards, like jumping into holes.
Shovels.
This podcast is just going to become like this.
Yeah, we're going to make some people mad.
Yeah, by the way,
Piss
Ian,
off
I
some
need to
powerful
link,
people.
guys, he also, while he's doing this, we will be driving traffic to his YouTube channel because he is just starting his YouTube channel and he does not have nearly as many followers as he should have. So every episode we'll be linking it. I will also put Ian's YouTube channel in this episode as well. Go support him. Go support independent thinkers. The rumors about him aren't true. He's actually pretty broke. We're not funded by Qatar. I'm trying to be. I would like to do like a Qatari airline commercial or something. I don't know if you're watching. I don't know. I get these accusations. Nope, none of that's true. So let's help and support Ian in any capacity. And so check that out on the link. And then you guys, I also want to remind you, I will be on Minnect, Minnect. If you want to send me a message, I can answer you. That's something that I will be doing on maternity leave. Also, the book club is the next way that you can reach me. Obviously, we will still be keeping that up. CandaceOwens.com. Sign up for the book club. The books are amazing. They will terrify you, but you will also be more well-rounded. And I think just impervious to the media because you will know exactly what it is, which is one big game of demonic psychology. Ian, anything that you would like to add before we are out of here?
No, I just really appreciate it, and I'm just praying for a healthy birth for you and everything to go smooth. And I'll be back here to
Praying, you psychopath.
I know, right? All these Pharisees out here. And all y'all, I'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Once I'm done in Austin, I'll come out here and we'll have a good time.
So fun. 42,000 watching live. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and he will see you on May 12th.
My fancy has not been sparked. I make a lot of skirts, but I am terrible at making shirts. I mean, not actually at like making shirts. I'm sure it's not really any harder to make a top than it is to, make a dress, but I'm terrible at choosing to make a shirt or a top or a blouse. I'm bad at buying them too. I just see shirts and I'm like, meh, which makes me not want to pay for them or spend time sewing them. But then I just have a bunch of skirts and nothing to wear with them. But all of that changes today. Just kidding, I doubt it'll change. But I'm going to at least force myself to make some tops because I have all of these lovely skirts and I like to wear them more, so I need something to cover my boobs. Am I also just doing yet another project to distract myself from life? Yes, I am! The thing is, we keep waiting to close on this house and be able to start the moving process, and it keeps taking a little longer than we thought it would. So I keep calculating how much time I have left, and I'm like, I think I have time for just one more project. So I do that project, I finish that project, and then everything has been delayed and we have more time. So here I am doing another project. But again, I didn't want to get into anything like too involved. So my plan is to make 3 shirts of some kind, and making 3 might seem too involved, but I am going to make all of them out of knit, which somehow in my head makes them not as difficult, even though I'm also going to draft all of them by hand. I don't know, don't question it. Just go with it, it'll be grand. And my goal with these 3 tops is that each one can be worn with at least 2 of these skirts and 1 pair of pants. I'm including that because it's the only pair that I've made that I wear. Okay, let me put these all back in my closet so we can move on. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, which is why I'm wearing my shark sweater in the middle of summer. Worth it! I'm not exactly the most careful in my sewing room. Safety? What's that? Mistakes? We're besties. But online safety? That's a different story. Surfshark is a VPN, a virtual private network that encrypts your data, keeping your online activity safe and private. There are so many reasons why using a VPN is just a smart idea. Sending files privately, staying anonymous on public Wi-Fi, content. I watch a lot of it, I'm always running out of it, and I have a certain proclivity for British programs that aren't always available in America. With a VPN, wha-bam! I'm transported to London, and there's a whole new world of TV shows available to me. And speaking of going abroad, have you heard of price discrimination? Yeah, I had to, but I hadn't really experienced it until my trip to France this year. Using a VPN saved me big bucks when booking flights, rental cars, and even hotels. Like, bucks of extraordinary size. If you haven't tried a VPN yet, well, what are you waiting for? Get Surfshark VPN by following the link in the description and use promo code TheStitchery for an exclusive offer and 3 extra months for free. Thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video, and now let's go make some tops. Okay, so I dug through my fabric stash because obviously I'm just gonna use fabric I have for this. And yes, there's 4 here because I said I'm gonna make 3 tops, but then I think I'm gonna make a bonus top. So actually it'll be 4 tops, but by calling it a bonus top, I'm tricking my brain into thinking that I'm not making this project bigger, even though I am. I went with a kind of creamy white because that can go with a lot of stuff. This matched something. I've already forgotten which ones. This pretty silky pinky stuff I think would look super cute with my bright yellow satin skirt. And then yeah, this is like a really small piece of fabric I have, but I love some black and white check, and I wanted to challenge myself to see if I can get a shirt, a top, a very basic, I'm thinking like tank top, out of this amount of fabric. I think I can. So let me show you my design plans. And I've seen your complaints that you can't see when I draw in pencil. I've seen your suggestions that I draw with a pen or a Sharpie. That stresses me out. When you're like not good at drawing and then you have to draw something in Sharpie, whew, no, that's not happening. However, I will compromise and I will draw my designs with a black colored pencil this time in an effort for them to be more visible for you. Let's see how that goes. And of course, somebody just started doing yard work, so I'm gonna voice this over later because otherwise the sound will be terrible. Since most of the skirts I make sit high on the waist, the theme of these tops is going to be comfy and cropped. With the cream material, I like to do a ballet-inspired wrap top.
Oh, you bitch. I swear to God. My face is like right in the fucking sunlight. Please. Thank you. 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 Thank you so much. Oh, that was a fucking nightmare. And my tablet just died. Great. Oh, frick. Oh. Ah, come on! Overheating, it's too fucking hot. Can't walk straight. Oh, my face was just getting beat hot. Come on, Lord. Okay, I'll turn back on now.
Heather!
Yeah?
What size hiking boots do you wear?
I do not need any hiking boots, honestly. I just bought a pair.
They're Ariat Cascades. They're like $179 boots. They're almost new and I cannot wear them.
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
What about the boy?
No, honestly, I literally just, when we did our taxes, I just bought boots for us.
Okay.
And I would say yes, but I'm a hoarder and I have to say no to things, you know?
No worries.
Thank you for the offer.
You took me years to get past that.
I struggle.
When I first got to Oregon in 2019, I had 11 saddles.
11 Damn, those were nice hiking boots. I'm proud of myself. And a bee. Are you catching sky raisins, Orly? And then these are inward. Okay. Whoa, you scared me. Boy, oh boy. These upside down ones sure do love to give you a hard time. Dude, don't care. Orly, don't leave. Window. Not charging. Excuse moi. Oh man, that's gonna suck if this fucking new charger thing doesn't work. Are you friggin' it? What is going on, bro? Why is this not fucking charging? Oh, and I just gave Josh the charger. Fuck, dude. Of course that's freaking... Oh, shit. Oh. That's attached. That's not a USB-C. That's not gonna fucking work. Are you serious right now? This is retarded. Why isn't this fucking working? Okay, allegedly it's charging. We'll see. We'll come back to it in a minute, but it didn't look very good. Fuck, man. I don't have a way to charge my phone or my tablet now. Ugh. Oh, yeah, and my phone is like literally about to die. It was about to die earlier, so that's gonna be fun. Yep, about to die. Awesome, love this. It's super cool and great. I really hope the charger works for my phone. Why don't these cords work? What the fuck? Why is this thing not working? Bro, I have no way to charge my phone? My feet like slid like this in my socks and I fell. And then I got like 2 feet fucking forward and there was a hose. I tripped over the hose, fell down. That's the fucking 4th time I've fallen down today alone, dude. I have never fallen down like in my entire life. And now today, 4 times I fell down. I fell down in the gas station in front of like the news station. They're there filming because there's been some fucking robberies or whatever. The gas station that I happened to stop at, and fucking right in front of the KZI people for fucking Eugene or whatever it is, Oregon's fucking news people. I fell, my shoelaces got, on my left foot, got caught on the hook for the laces on the right foot. And I fucking just fell hard, dude. I mean, I saved myself, you know, as much as could be saved. Like, I didn't smash my face on the ground or anything like that. I just landed on my hands. But still, like, the fuck, dude? What's with all this fucking falling today? This is absolutely ludicrous. Why won't these go in? This is really getting irritating too. I'm getting frustrated. I don't know if you can tell. The falling really just did me in. And now my heel hurts because I stomped down really hard on a fucking piece of gravel. Get in your home! Like, why won't it just screw in? Like, what the actual devil? This is stupid. I'm seeing it lined perfectly up with the hole. It's just not catching. Won't go in. Just will not screw in. Cool. Good job, guys. This is absolutely retarded. Listen, y'all, I'm gonna be honest on TikTok. Just so you know, company. There's literally no threat. There's no threading. Look at that. Like a glove. Just goes right in. Not this son of a bitch. This one's like, you know what, actually, I actually don't think I'm gonna do that. I know you want me to and all, but oh, fuck yeah. Listen, you and me are gonna have a problem. Just go in your hole. It just won't make threads. The plastic's so fucking hard, it just won't fucking thread. I bet you didn't realize, but you don't have to be stupid. You can just do your job. Your one and only job in this entire world. Or not, I guess. That's cool too. I don't actually need a functional dresser that I just put together. I guess. I could just have a slightly functional one. That's cool. You bitch. Too small. Motherfucker. That's just not gonna do it. I don't have any screws that are wide enough. Fuck me, dude. Of course. Of course. Moving on. B and 1. Let's see if my sound's coming back yet. Ow, break it. What a surprise. Not even a little bit. What are you doing? How far along are you? Listen, 5% is 5%. I'll take it. Oi. This is pretty lame. Pretty lame. Okay, give me my fucking music now. Or whatever it was I wanted to listen to. Gotta go all the way in the kitchen now and get my darn speaker all set up again. I need to eat something maybe. Come on, dude, turn on. This is ridiculous. Unbelievable. Oh, you son of a bitch. So, like, all the fucking chargers that I have, except for one that's like this big, doesn't work. Ha 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 ha, it's so funny.
They killed him. Right. He got a hero's funeral. She was in charge, not Epstein. He clearly worked for her because he's dead. You know, she's some kind of important bloodline is what that means. Like she's too important. Otherwise, she'd be dead too.
That's a very interesting theory.
And how do I really know that she's in jail? Jimmy, I want to
Well,
add...
I've always thought that.
I want to add
I always thought that. They say she's in jail. Just like they say that Epstein killed himself. It's like, what? How do you know she's actually in jail? It wouldn't surprise me. Way crazier things have happened than the deep state lying, saying, "Oh no, she's in jail," and she's not. That's a very. I'm not saying she isn't in jail. I'm saying that it wouldn't surprise me if I found out she wasn't.
And what is she in jail for? If they don't reveal anything that
happened
to those people,
she's in jail for trafficking young girls to very powerful men. Except we don't know who any of the powerful men were. But they got her for doing it. But who did she do it with? Who were the men? Well, I guess we'll never know. So
I just want to add this really quickly. The Daily Beast just released the information, a story about Virginia.
Yeah.
And they were saying how her lawyer, Carrie Loudon, cast her doubts over Gouffre's death, claiming that there are big question marks over it. Quote, she was in a lot of pain, but she was looking forward to things in the future. She wanted to renovate this house and all sorts of things like that. Luke Loudon, who had represented Gouffre since January, told The Sun, when I got the phone call, I was like, are you joking? Because there was no sign that was something she was considering. We've got big question marks over it. Not going to speculate whether it was a suicide or accidental.
So,
it's drug abuse.
Yeah, it could be.
No, it's not suicide either way because his thing is drug abuse.
Right.
Long-term drug abuse. What he's saying, I wouldn't call that suicide, would you?
So her own lawyer is saying that there's doubt about this case. So no shade to Ryan. Big fan of Ryan and his work. And again, like I say, friend of the show. I admire his work. He does good. So I'm just saying that and I'm not saying I disagree with what he said. I'm just saying that it's okay to question this. It's super sus, as the kids say.
And we want justice.
And it's what's also sus is that the people who ran and campaigned on releasing the Epstein information pretended they released it to those handful of conservative influencers, and they didn't.
Yeah, you would have thought the shame would have drove some of them over the edge.
So this Brunel's suicided. She's suicided. Epstein suicided. Come on, and somehow Ghislaine not suicided, and she's supposedly in prison. I would like some. Isn't it weird that she doesn't do it, and she's not doing any interviews from prison? Isn't that also interesting? I mean, Charlie Manson did interviews from prison his whole life.
She did one.
Did she?
I saw one. Oh yeah, I saw one.
She did.
Yeah, people have been and seen her. Now, it's very possible she's living quite well as part of the deal in that prison. People that are in prison like that, notoriously for years, like the mafia hitmen used to get furloughs. So there's no telling what kind of sweetheart stuff without even sneaking it. Just legally they can do, because they did it for Epstein, if you remember. Epstein could leave his prison the first time.
Yeah, the first time. That's right.
So it's not like she's not in prison, but you think she's getting bad treatment? You think she's not getting something a little extra good? Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody certainly doesn't want this getting out there, but I'm sure everything is just the way it looks. That
It's
went.
just public information. He shot a hard drive in the closet.
He went in and shot the hard drives at
Yeah,
that pizza
well,
parlor.
it was-
Hard drives at
Yeah,
that pizza
well,
parlor.
It was an accident, I guess. I don't know. Then
And
he was
then
released.
what happened to that guy? Then that guy got.
What the fuck? God fucking damn it, dude. How am I supposed to fucking function with not being able to charge my goddamn devices? It's fucking ridiculous. Oh no. Okay, let's see if maybe it's not the cords. Maybe it's the fucking power thingy, and maybe just by plugging this into this, I will make my life a little bit easier. Let's see if this is gonna work. Oh man, this is pretty fucking lame. Having to scramble and deal with this all at once. No, the cords just don't work. Okay, great. Fuck! Like, what? I'm at 1%. Oh my god. Oh my god! Cannot believe this. What am I supposed to do? Any other USB-C cords anywhere? Let's see. They're like an inch long. Is that USB-C? Oh, it's a fucking 2 inches long. There's another one that's an inch long. Inches long. Key. I don't know what you are. That's super weird. Okay. Is this also a fucking lightning cord? Great. Love it. Dude, what in the fuck? So lame. So fucking lame. Not gonna be able to listen to anything? You got me bent. God bless my child, dude. God bless my fucking child. Fucking destroys all my cords. Okay. That gonna work? Okay, that's gonna work. Good. Hopefully that works. Can't quit now, Heather. Can't quit now. Okay. Oh boy. And then we're gonna need 11 and 12. Here's 11. I didn't break that when I stepped on it. Well, What? Insert of her. Okay, so this is left and this is right. Yes. All right. So up and down. Okay. Pretty straightforward. Up and down. Up and down. Up and down. Don't do it. Thank you. Fucking deal with that screw loose, missing, whatever. Hopefully the weight of all of my shit will hold it in place. It's really irritating because the show I was listening to was live. Can't rewind it. Okay. Where do these ones go though? Okay. Just to be in love. Can't believe it matches and fucking that blows me away. Ouch, I blew it out my nose. Ouch, 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 burns. Oh, I guess I could leave Wi-Fi on. Oh, that burnt my nose.
Percent true. He has shifted the conversation. And the big problem for me is that all the people who are criticizing Trump's tariff, they call it, you know, crazy and chaos, and it's going to take a... And they're not proposing... First of all, they never, ever even talked about the drain of jobs that have been exported from our country on purpose. They took great jobs, turned them into crappy jobs, and shipped them over to China, as Jack Ma has revealed. That was our plan. It wasn't China's plan. China didn't come and steal our jobs. We gave it to them. And the people who are criticizing Trump up and down over this, his tariff ideas, don't have an alternative plan. It's not like, hey, we should do our plan to bring back manufacturing jobs. We should do our plan to rebuild the middle class. They just go, that's just crazy. We shouldn't do it. Well, at the very least, what he just said, Sachs just said there, is true, that he has shifted the conversation, right, to talk about this stuff. What do you say?
Yeah, I absolutely believe that he has. You know, people have to remember, like was said earlier, the stock market is only down 6%. This happens all of the time, even when it's not Trump. But because it's Trump, 6 is suddenly feels like it's 60. And honestly, they're riding inflated gains of the federal government pumping so much money into the economy. Anyone that had assets, they inflated. That's the point of inflation. They made the rich richer and the poor poorer. So you don't have mainstream America complaining very much about the stock market. Most of them trust that it's going to come back. But he has shifted the narrative, and I believe it's too early to tell whether the tariffs are going to work or not. But I could tell you a bunch of ways how they are working.
Go ahead.
Okay. So just from my estimation, the tariffs are working. Look at what happened with Mexico on the southern border. They've put up 10,000 people. They say that they're going to try to stop human trafficking, child trafficking, 100,000 Americans dying every year from fentanyl. Same thing up in Canada. They finally stopped the illegal invasion into Canada because they were worried about the tariffs. They got Trudeau out. They're now working with 150 countries that want to continue to get money from the American spender. The American spender is the greatest asset on planet Earth. Nobody spends like America, for good or bad, but you've got all these countries that are now negotiating. You've got Europe finally saying, maybe we should end the Russia-Ukraine war. Why? Because Trump threatened tariffs. He also said, if you guys want to continue to have this war, go ahead, but you're not going to have our money. Suddenly, the leaders in Europe are like, well, maybe we should end the war because if we don't have the American tax dollar, we don't really have a war. So I see, a lot of reasons. Let me just give a few more. President Trump has brought in approximately $5.2 trillion in committed capital.
Oh man,
what does
we're
that
talking
mean?
about
badass.
What does that mean?
Oh, there is one.
So what that means is you've got like Hyundai willing to put up money, Honda willing to put up money, NVIDIA $500 billion, Apple $500 billion, SoftBank $200 billion, Saudi Arabia nearly $1 trillion. So you add all of that up, all of these countries, foreign businesses, local businesses, they're all saying, okay, under Trump, we want to invest in America. They're not buying our T-bills and our bonds. They're buying right into the American capitalism markets. So all of that is happening because of the tariffs. I mean, just so much money is pouring in. $1 trillion committed from Japan.
I can't believe I got this for free, dude.
Switzerland wants to put money in here. Again, NVIDIA and Apple both committed almost $1 trillion between the two of them. All of this is because of the tariffs.
I was being a pissy asshole.
So can I say that the tariffs have been used?
Look at this. It literally matches perfectly. I can't believe that. That was 100%. Accidental. That was completely by accident that it matches this.
In the short run, I don't know. I don't know that for sure.
And I'll just reiterate my point is, okay, if you don't like Trump's plan,
it's bigger than this one that I've already got too.
Nobody has nothing. Their plan is, hey, let's give some more money to Ukraine. Let's give some more money to Israel. Let's give some more money to the war machine. Let's do whatever our donors want. Let's keep not investing in infrastructure or healthcare or education. Let's keep doing shit like that.
I can't believe this is so cool. I just got all those clothes cleaned and now I have a place to put them.
There's no
I'm going to be able to organize all my yarn and stuff. Oh my God,
There's no plan from the billionaire class because they don't want to plan.
The
billionaire class wants to keep the system going the way it is because it works for them. They get cheap products, they make more, but the American middle class gets hollowed out, which it has been.
Yeah, it has. Another point I wanted to make, Jimmy, is everybody's screaming about the stock market, and they're all saying that life is going to get expensive under these tariffs. But last I checked, groceries haven't gone up like they did under Biden. Gas hasn't gone up like it did under Biden. Services haven't gone up like they did under Biden. So some of these areas are about the same, maybe a small increase, and some of them have gone down, but nobody talks about that. All they talk about is the stock market's going to melt down. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you had Kramer on Mad Money saying, if you don't call off the tariffs, we're going to have a Black Monday, a 25% drop in the stock market. Guess what? The markets opened on Monday, the stock market went up. So, I mean, there's a lot of screaming and hollering. This is what Wall Street does in order to continue to have leverage over Main Street. But I don't think Main Street, meaning the American public, I don't think that they're as unhappy with Trump as the mainstream media would have you believe.
So, what David Sachs said there is definitely true. That if your metrics of whether Trump's tariffs or his tariff talk or whatever you want to call it has worked, if your metrics is that it should shift the conversation, it 100% worked because it is 100% shifted the conversation. Nobody was talking about bringing jobs back to America. Nobody was talking about trying to get manufacturing back in America. Nobody was talking about reinvigorating the middle class. Nobody was talking about that. And now everybody's talking about it, but they will not come up with an alternative plan. And that's, to me, a really big tell.
Okay. Yeah, they were talking about it, but not the way you and I think. Just 2 weeks ago, the former Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, said that this is a pipe dream. Those jobs are never coming back. So they're talking about it in terms of failing, and yet just today, I asked Grok over on X, in the last 60 days, compile all the information on how many jobs will be created from the investment capital committed under the Trump administration in 100 days. It came back and said 451,000 high-paying jobs, which means higher than average income jobs. So 451,000 have come back in the first, or are planning to come back. You've got Honda bringing back plants, Ford bringing back plants. So these jobs are coming back. Same thing. Barack Obama said those jobs from overseas, they're gone. They're never coming back, right?
I remember that.
So they only talk in terms of hollowing out the American middle class further, but they are talking about it. But only Trump has the optimism and the plan to do it. Is he executing it perfectly? No. Nobody's going to execute it perfectly, but I still stand on the side that he's doing the best that he can. A lot has been done in 100 days, and also, we're only 100 days in. How much more is going to happen in the next 265 days?
Okay, fantastic. I appreciate your perspective, Stephen, because I know, I'm in comedy clubs 3, 4, 5 times a week. And just last night, I had a good friend of mine, used to open for me, turned to me and he goes, is it time to panic? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do you mean? He goes, well, Trump. And I go, have you stuck your head out the window lately? It looks exactly the same. Everything looks exactly the same to me. And prices of eggs have come way down. I know that. That's the thing everybody was screaming about. And again, it's just like with Russiagate. It's just like with COVID. Just like the Ukraine war, it's just an overwhelming onslaught of propaganda, and people see it everywhere. So it must be true. They see it everywhere. Well, you don't understand that the mainstream media is there not to inform you, not to give you news. They're there to manufacture consent for whatever the billionaire class wants at the moment. It's called manufacturing consent. And we knew about this 30 years ago when Chomsky and Herman wrote that book, Manufacturing Consent. The media is there, not there to inform you, dummy. That's why they lied to you about everything. They lied to you about the DNC server being hacked by Russia. They lied about Trump being in the pocket of Russia and Putin. They lied about the Ukraine war. They lied about Syria gas attacks. They lied about COVID. There wasn't a thing they didn't lie about in COVID. They lied about Hunter Biden's laptop. They lied about Joe Biden not being demented for 4 years straight, right in your fucking face. And the same people are telling you all this shit, and they keep going back to this. They at no point do they go, oh my God, maybe I'm living in a toxic stew of propaganda. Yes, maybe you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should have said to your friend, hey, did you have enough money to drive here, get a drink, and purchase the comedy ticket? You seem like you're doing okay, buddy.
Okay. All right. Let me set up our next story. Over to Steph.
All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. All right, let's go. Savage, thank you so much, Savage. Jimmy may have a case of long CCP COVID-19 forever. Savage, depressing. Love the show. And let's see, this is C Punk. Thank you, CP Punk. Keep fighting for us, JD. What you do matters. Don't forget, have on Daniel List. Kirk will approve. CB Punk. Thank you, CB. Doctor, 2 weeks out, there was speculation she was already dead. When was the last definitive proof of life is what I'm asking for, Doctor. Michael Malice said it's quite well. Pizzagate aged far better than Russiagate.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some live shows coming up. Check our tour on jimmydore.com. We're coming to Bakersfield this weekend, San Jose on Sunday. We're going to be in Buffalo, Toledo, Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Glasgow, Manchester, Belfast, Dublin, Liverpool, Birmingham, London, Northampton, and back to the U.S. So if you're looking to go to any of those shows, just go jimmydore.com. Check out the link and use our link. You want to go directly through our links because they go directly to the show venue links. All right, back to Jimmy.
So I'm here with Stephen Gardner, and Trump sat down. It's a tradition that the president sits down after his first 100 days for a print interview with Time Magazine. They don't record it, video. It's just so ridiculous. We live in an age of video, and it's just nuts. But they don't. So they want you to read it. So we did. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about. So I have proof that Trump's advisors are lying to him, right? And so a president has to rely on his advisors. I mean, I think I'm busy. I can't imagine how busy a president would be. So this is one of the questions they asked him in their interview. They said, by the way, and here we see Trump has switched to a blue tie just to piss off the Pope. Anyway, another crazy story, but the Supreme Court ruled 9-0. This is what Time Magazine said to Trump. The Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that you have to bring back Kilmar Abrego Garcia from El Salvador. You haven't done so. Aren't you disobeying the Supreme Court? Well, that's not what my people told me. They didn't say it was. They said it was 9-0 with something entirely different, meaning what he was told, and I'm going to show you right now, his top advisor, Stephen Miller, said that the 9-0 decision by the Supreme Court, a conservative Republican Supreme Court, 9-0, said that you have to give people due process. That's what they said. So you can get rid of Abrigo Garcia, but you have to give him a due process, meaning a court date, which, by the way, it doesn't mean a week. Most immigration court hearings last about 5 minutes. And so they're just saying you have to do this. You can't just, no matter how bad of a guy someone is, they get due process because we have to live by our Constitution. And so I stand with the conservative Republican Supreme Court in their 9-0 ruling. But Trump got misinformed about that ruling, and I'm going to show you what the misinformation was. Here, he's being asked about, are you going to bring, because, so what the Supreme Court said, hey, you have to do everything you can to facilitate his return back to the United States, even though he's an El Salvadorian citizen, even though he was deported before. When he was here, you still have to give him due process. And now that you didn't, and you kicked him out and you sent him to El Salvador, you're supposed to bring him back, give him his due process, and then get rid of him. Which I don't understand why Trump would do. It just undermines Trump's. People are behind Trump on this immigration thing, and he's wrecking it with stupid stuff like this. But here, I'm going to show you why. Maybe because he's getting bad advice, and flat out he's being lied to. Here's Stephen Miller being asked about that, and Trump says, "Well, let me defer to my advisor, Stephen Miller, on this." And watch what Stephen Miller says.
Supreme Court's asking to. And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9.
So he says, Steve, what was the ruling in the Supreme Court? It's 9-0. Now Trump says that, thinking it was 9-0 in his favor. It wasn't. But Stephen Miller lied to him and told him this.
9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against.
There it is. There's Stephen Miller in front of a bevy of reporters, of other politicians, of the Secretary of State, J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi. He just flat out lies. They all know he's lying. And none of them go, hey, no, that's not true. It wasn't in our favor. And so here it is. Watch.
Supreme Court's asking to. And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
in our favor.
In our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked.
Okay, so that's just Stephen Miller flat out lying. So Trump is not being served by his advisor. So now everybody sees this. Everybody sees that what they're saying is wrong. But this didn't really get the press it should have, that Stephen Miller was lying to him about what the Supreme Court said. And so Time Magazine goes on to ask him, they go, let me quote you from the ruling. After Trump says, I was told different. My lawyers told me different. So they go, well, let me quote you from the ruling. The order properly requires the government to facilitate Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador. Are you facilitating a release? He says, I leave it to my lawyers. I give them no instructions. They feel that the order said something very much different from what you're saying. But I leave it to my lawyers if they want, and that would be the Attorney General of the United States and the people that represent the country. I don't make that decision. So let me throw it to Stephen. So it's clear by that videotape and by the reading from Time Magazine of the court decision that Trump is being lied to. So I think you have to give Trump the benefit of the doubt on this one. What do you say?
So I asked lawyer Alan Dershowitz when he came on my show about this, and he said that the focus of the 9-0 was on whether the district court had authority. I said, but didn't it kind of say that he needed to bring this guy back? And he said, yes, but the word they used was facilitate, not compelled. So he said because the Supreme Court didn't compel Trump to bring him back, it was basically at his discretion. And I said, wait a minute, if it's at his discretion and he wants illegal criminal gang members out of the country, is he going to call in a favor to El Salvador to get this guy back? And Alan Dershowitz said, I don't think so. So that was my understanding of it, is that they basically allowed this to come down to semantics. And the only reason I can think that they would maybe not want to do that is from the conservative news side, what I see is well, there was no due process to get into the country. Why should we give them due process to get out of the country? So I don't have all of the details, but that was my understanding based on asking the same question to a lawyer.
So I'll just, one more time, this is from the Supreme Court. The order properly required. It doesn't say that Trump has to compel El Salvador, because he can't. But he has to at least ask, because what this says is the order properly requires the government to facilitate his release from custody. So that means that, my reading is that he should, that at the very least he needs to request El Salvador, and then if El Salvador is willing to release him, then they have to take him back to the United States, give him his 5-minute court hearing, and then kick him out of the country. That's what the Supreme Court said. And so that's where I'm at with it. And Trump, he went on to say this. Said, do you believe he deserves his day in court? And Trump really kind of beat around the bush. He said, I believe that they made him look like a saint. And then we found out about him. He wasn't a saint. He was MS-13. He was a wife beater. And he had a lot of things that were very bad, very bad. When I first heard of the situation, I was not happy. And I found out that he was a person, wasn't. So if he's an MS-13 member, it takes 5 minutes to prove it in court. And then that's it. They'll probably kick him out. So again, you can't fix a problem by denying due process. We have to be better than the criminals. We have to abide by the Constitution. And in fact, he had a tattoo right on his, so that was also bullshit. So that was not true. He did not have MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. He had symbols tattooed on his knuckles that they said represented MS-13. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the MS-13 gangs. They put MS-13 right on it. They're not shy about it. They're not putting symbols. So this is also bad information he's being given. So I believe he's a man who's got quite a past. There's no longer nationalized blah, blah, blah. Nobody and I think this is a very bad, I think it's another men's, women's sport thing for the Democrats. Well, it's not. It's not. So again, he's being told, again, he's being given bad information, and you can't fix a problem by denying due process. And we have to show that we're better. And I'm sure in 5 minutes, the judge would have said, get him out of here, and he's gone. I'm sure that would have happened. And so the fact that they wouldn't take that step just undermines their own case. And now people are squabbling over this, which they shouldn't be. Because the spirit is correct, that the guy's here illegally. But you can't then undermine the rule of law by enforcing the spirit, right? And it would have worked. Oh, anyway. So any last words on this?
No, I agree with your interpretation. When I hear the word, you must facilitate something, to me that means like make it happen, go through the motions. That's why I asked a lawyer, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a guy on YouTube. But he made it sound like, listen, unless they compel him, it's not going to happen. But I agree with you. You fly the guy back. He's given 5 minutes, although don't send him to Wisconsin with Judge Dugan.
Right.
And don't send him to New Mexico with that other Judge Cano. But bring him in. Hey, we're kicking you out. Okay, goodbye. I think the major issue here is there's so many people they want to get out of the country that they feel like this slows them down. But I hear what you're saying. If you're no better than the criminals, then are we really a country of law?
Right. You can't commit a crime while you're trying to convict criminals or deal with criminals. You have to be above it. So, and especially when you're doing something as controversial as this, you should make sure you're above reproach. That would be my advice to Donald Trump, unlike Stephen Miller. But okay, so that was one part of the Time magazine interview. I'm going to set up the next part. Over to Steph.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Savage, she took all the credibility, this is about Virginia Giuffre, out of the Windsors. Thank you, Savage. How come no one ever mentions boys? It's only young girls who are victims of pedos. So young boys don't get touched, or they matter less? Blanco, that's not what we say here at the Jimmy Dore Show. We actually have had guests on our show talking about that, and so I do hear you. But yes, of course, look at the Catholic Church, right? Okay, Tyler, your title, Tyler, Tyler, you like our title. Okay, thank you so much, Tyler. Adios. Okay. Oh, here we go. Gong. Please put Kurt on a blue screen and just make his head pop in when he comments. Ty, thank you, Ty. Analyst, I told directors within the Massachusetts Department of Social Services as far back as 1998-9 that foster parents I had were into child trafficking. What a nightmare, analyst. Apocalypse Wow, James Alefantis was in relationship with David Brock of Media Matters. Google it. All right, moving on. Colorado Watch, Lutnick is claiming tariffs aren't inflationary. You can be both a billionaire and a liar, economic incompetent. Oh, Colorado coming in hard. Back to Jim Jam.
Okay, I'm here with the very popular Stephen Gardner from his own YouTube show, and we're talking about the Time Magazine's interview with Trump. And here's one more thing I wanted to mention about it. They asked him, should Crimea go to the Russians? Should they get to keep Crimea? Well, here's what Trump says. Well, Crimea went to the Russians. It's already there. They went in 2014, by the way. So in case you don't know, Crimea was part of Russia hundreds of years. They gave it to Ukraine. It's a longer story, but then they took it back. 90% of the people in Crimea want to be part of Russia. They're ethnic Russians. They're Russian speakers. And Russia is not going to give up Crimea because they've got military bases there. They've got submarine bases. They've got all kinds. It's not happening. And by the way, Ukraine and the United States lost the war. We're the losers in the war. So the winners get to set the terms. Okay. Well, Crimea went back to the Russians. It was handed to them by Barack Hussein Obama and not by me. With that being said, will they be able to get it back? They've had their Russians, they've had their submarines there for long before any period that we're talking about, for many years. The people speak largely Russian in Crimea, but this was given by Obama. This wasn't given by Trump. Would it have been taken from me like it was taken from Obama? No, it would have never happened. Crimea, if I were president, it would not have been taken. No, he would have sold it to him. Time says, would it be acceptable to you in a deal if Crimea and the 4 other regions that Russia has taken from Ukraine would be folded into Russia under a final accommodation? I would be 100% okay with that, me personally, because the United States, if you don't know the story, very quickly overthrew the Ukrainian government in 2014, the Maidan coup, and installed a puppet. So the ethnic Russian speakers in the eastern part of Ukraine, they didn't want to go along with the coup government that was installed by the United States. And so what did the puppet government of the United States start doing in Ukraine? They started bombing the people in the Donbass, in the eastern part. And they slaughtered at least 16,000 of them over the next 6 years or 8 years. And so that's the whole, so no, I would be okay. When Putin invaded Ukraine, he didn't invade to start a war, he invaded to stop a war. The war against the people in the Donbass that were being slaughtered by Ukraine and the Azov battalion, which is a Nazi battalion. So Trump's response is, if Crimea will stay with Russia, we have to only talk about Crimea because that's the one that always gets mentioned. Crimea will stay with Russia, and Zelensky understands that. And everybody understands that it's been with them for a long time. It's been with them long before Trump came along. And again, this is Obama's war. This is a war that should never have happened. I call it a war that should have never happened. So Zelensky was so angry with Trump over that statement that he almost took a shit. That's a cocaine joke. It's a cocaine joke. Okay. Anyway. And by the way, it's good news for Zelensky. You're not paranoid. The entire world now is out to get you because you're such a piece of it. But let me throw it back to Stephen. Stephen, what do you say about this?
Okay.
Yeah. So those regions, didn't they vote early in the war on whether to be Ukraine and Russia? And they voted Russia. So what'd the mainstream media say? They were compelled.
Yeah.
Their lives were threatened.
Yeah.
I didn't see any guns at the ballot box, but here's a really simple term. Okay, we were being bombed. The bombs weren't coming from Russia. The bombs were coming from Ukraine. Who are we to assume was bombing us? Our own government was bombing us, right? So I think that Trump is right on this. Like, why are we talking about Crimea? That is lost land. We should be talking about the area that Russia has taken, whether that becomes a neutral buffer zone, whether that becomes Ukrainian, whether it becomes Russian. That is the real thing. But the fact that they don't want to end this war is really mysterious to me. I mean, they had the opportunity to end it, in the spring of 2022? Biden sent over that goofy guy from the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson.
Boris Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, they threatened Zelensky, you end this war and we'll take you out. Well, he keeps it going because he thinks that they're going to keep sending him unlimited amounts of money and weapons. And meanwhile, we've weakened America to strengthen Ukraine. And I think the people are just done with it. They want this war to be over. I don't know why the United Kingdom wants to keep this war going. It's very bizarre to me. But yes, this all happened under Obama. You cannot put this on Trump. You also can't expect Trump, as good at negotiating as he is, to get back an area where 9 out of 10 people speak Russian. Like the 1 out of 10 that live in the area that speak Ukrainian. You know what we do in America? We call that Little Ukraine. And it becomes a restaurant, an area with Ukrainian restaurants and Ukrainian churches and Ukrainian areas to visit. Little Italy, right? Like that's what should happen with Crimea. But if they keep going, they're going to lose Crimea and Odessa, and then they're going to have no access to the Black Sea.
Well said. Thank you very much. Okay, let me set up the next segment. Over to Steph.
Okay, thank you. Octagon 237. Tariffs are a plan from the billionaire class. Watch Brian Berletic. Straight from Project 2025. They want to rip off the Band-Aid before they start a war with China. That's the only plan here. Octagon. Octagon. Interesting observation there.
Okay.
All right, back to Jimmy.
We're here with our special guest, Stephen Gardner. We're going to talk about the Wisconsin judge that was arrested for illegally obstructing and helping a criminal get away from the police. That's what happened. And there she is, that they arrested her. And I'm confused, though. Is she just going into prison because she looks like she's just getting out after a 50-year stretch? I don't know.
Did CNN take that video?
But so here, the Democrats are distorting what happened. And you see it all over the place. Again, this is the wrong fight. They're fighting the wrong fight. If you want to fight Trump on immigration, you fight him on due process. You don't fight him over a judge clearly breaking the law for a criminal, a person who was a wife beater, and an illegal, already deported from the country once. But here is Robert Reich, who's a partisan of the highest order. He's a vote blue, no matter who, dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, and can never tell the truth about Trump if it goes against his partisan leanings. And so here's what he's saying about this case. So if you don't know about the case, I'm going to explain it in a second, but here's what he's saying.
Look at Kash Patel. I mean, of all the people who you don't want to be put in the position of FBI director, that is one of them.
So that's just another garbage right off the bat. Yeah, the last guy in the world. Oh, really? Because the last FBI directors were such choir boys? They're all criminals. They all pulled a hoax. They concocted, they framed the president as a traitor to our country with Russiagate. Completely made up. I mean, those guys should have been the... So again, it's just this is just garbage partisanship, and half the country, at least, or more, is onto it. Okay. So that's his start. His jumping off point is complete bullshit. Okay, so here we go.
Just yesterday about the fact that the FBI had arrested a judge. Dugan was her last name. Hannah Dugan. Mm-hmm. How can the FBI arrest a judge just because
Because she broke the law. That's why. Judges get arrested all the time. It doesn't happen every day, but as Glenn Greenwald said, it doesn't happen once a century. It's normal. It's a normal thing. Judges, in fact, Joe Biden on his way out of office pardoned a judge that they had put in prison because he was putting teenagers in prison and he was being paid off by the private prison. He was illegally put. So this happens this is not new. So him saying, he arrested a judge? Oh my me, where's my fainting couch? as if this never happens. This happens all the time. So again, 2 lies. You have to start off your argument about the judge in Wisconsin with 2 complete lies, pretending this never happens, and this is against the Constitution. And the first lie, he said that Casper tells the word you should never be allowed. Okay, so here we go.
They're trying to make sure that immigrants have access, even if they have no papers, even if they are undocumented, they have access to a courthouse. That's what judges ideally are supposed to do. You arrest a judge. How can the FBI, how can the administration, the executive branch, arrest a judge, an Article 3 judge? Well, we're getting into very dangerous territory.
Yeah, it wasn't dangerous when the entire FBI and the Clinton campaign and the media framed the president as being a traitor to our country with a conspiracy theory called Russiagate, so that wasn't. But this is where it's dangerous, when a judge breaks the law and they arrest that judge. That's, by the way, that's called the rule of law. That's how it's supposed to work. And just to get you caught up, if you don't know the ins and outs of the case, I'll give it to you. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested by the FBI April 25, 2025, and charged with 2 federal offenses: obstructing a proceeding and concealing an individual to prevent arrest. The charges stem from an incident on April 18, 2025, when the federal agents, including the ICE, the FBI, and the DEA, they arrived at the Milwaukee County Courthouse to arrest a guy named Eduardo Flores Ruiz, a Mexican national facing misdemeanor battery charges in Dugan's courtroom. According to the criminal complaint, Dugan became visibly angry upon learning of the agent's presence and their intent to arrest Flores Ruiz, who was in the U.S. illegally and had been previously deported. So the Biden administration deports this guy. He sneaks back into, and she's pissed off that they're coming to enforce the law. So, they said she's visibly angry. I don't know. Maybe that's just her resting face. Who knows? Anyway, the complaint alleges that Dugan confronted the agents in a public hallway, demanded that they leave, and insisted they needed a judicial warrant. They had an administrative warrant. She directed the agents to speak with the chief judge. Then allegedly, this is what she did. She escorted the criminal, Flores Ruiz, and his attorney out of the courtroom through a jury door. So she's sneaking the guy out to a non-public area, bypassing the hallway where agents were waiting. Witnesses, including Dugan, the judge's own courtroom deputy, said that she said something like, "Wait, come with me," to Flores Ruiz as he attempted to exit through a public door. She's like, no, don't go out there. That's where the agents are. Come with me. I'm going to take you through a private, secret place so you could sneak past the law enforcement agents who are here to arrest you for being here illegally, even after you were deported once already. Federal agents later apprehended Flores Ruiz outside the courthouse after a foot chase. FBI Director Kash Patel stated that Dugan intentionally misdirected agents, creating increased danger to the public. The Trump administration, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, framed the arrest as a signal that officials obstructing immigration enforcement would face prosecution. Dugan's actions were seen as interfering with federal efforts to detain an undocumented immigrant, escalating tensions between the administration and the local judiciary. Dugan was released on her own recognizance after a court appearance, and her attorney, Stephen Biskupic, stated she would defend herself vigorously and expects exoneration. If convicted, she faces up to 6 years in prison. So, everything points to, even people on CNN and MSNBC are saying, yeah, she did this and it's illegal. But people are misframing it all over the place. I'll show you one more misframing. Here's that paid shill for the Democratic Party, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, and I'm not making that up. It's legit. It's been confirmed he's a paid shill. So he's just a shill for the Democratic Party, and he tweets this out. He goes, for the people celebrating the weaponized arrest, of Judge Hannah Dugan by the Trump administration because she, quote, broke the law, just remember that it was also used to be against the law to hide folks like Anne Frank. Yeah, German Nazi law. Not the United States Constitution. He goes, which side of history are you on? I'm on the side of the American Constitution. And he puts, that's the judge. That's a nice picture of her. And then that's Anne Frank. So completely misframing what's going on. And Margot Cleveland, she nails it. She says, for idiots comparing Judge Dugan to those hiding Anne Frank, just remember Anne Frank was an innocent child who was hidden to protect her from Nazis who wanted to kill her because she was Jewish, while Dugan hid someone who had been previously deported from America, committed a felony by re-entering, and was charged with 3 counts of domestic abuse resulting in pain or injury. And she hid him to help him escape being sent to his own country, and in doing so delayed the criminal proceedings against him while his innocent victims waited in the courtroom. And so now they're outside that courtroom protesting, the Democrats, because they don't look through the propaganda. They have no idea what they're even protesting. And what I said, FYI, this fake outrage only helps Trump. Judges are arrested all the time. Even CNN agrees this judge broke the law and her arrest was warranted. So does MSNBC. And so does the New York Times. The judge dismissed charges and let him out the back door. A man who was previously kicked out of the U.S. by Biden and was in court for domestic violence. So let me throw it over to our guest, Stephen Gardner. What do you have to say about this complete misframing on purpose by Democrats, the Democratic Party, and the propaganda? Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you, Robert Reich. He'll never say anything good about Donald Trump. He could cure cancer and he would say it costs too much in materials or something stupid. But, the picture of the judge, I was mistaken because the whole reason that he was in front of her was because he had punched in someone's face 30 times. I thought that was the person whose face got punched in. That was actually the judge. The reason that he was here in the United States was because he had beaten his girlfriend so bad that she was hospitalized. His other charges down in Mexico, strangulation, suffocation, battery, and domestic abuse on family members. This is who the Democrats are now rallying for? Like Jack the Ripper, the great strangler of Mexico, the guy that punched someone in the face 30 times because they asked him to turn down his music. This judge, she's been punched in the head 30 times. This is crazy. Why wouldn't you make somebody heroic the centerpiece of your protest? Instead, they make these crazy, violent people the ones that they're like, it's the hill that they're willing to die for, or to die on. Really? A guy that, is in trouble for strangling people, suffocating people, punching people in the face 30 times. I'll tell you this, Jimmy. If Eileen Cannon, the judge in Florida that had overseen the Mar-a-Lago documents case, if she had been arrested, every Democrat in mainstream media, it would have been all over the news all day long about how heroic and just that was. And to say that we never arrest judges, that'd be like saying we never arrest senators. Well, guess what? Remember when they arrested Gold Bar's Bob Menendez? Yeah. And then he went through proper court proceeding. And guess what? That dude was stacking gold bars because he was being bought off. So you only arrest people when they break the law. And this lady, she was aiding and abetting somebody who literally was standing in her courtroom for punching someone in the face over 30 times. That's my thoughts.
It's just remarkable to see how both sides can F up what they're doing, right? So Trump, by denying due process to some of those people, is undermining his immigration program. And the Democrats, by championing a judge who's obviously breaking the law and lying about it and misframing the issue, are undermining their own case. The Democrats and those people out there protesting.
Yep.
It's like, hey, why are you here? Because the TV told us. The TV told us. The Democrats have nothing else to be right about, and they know it. So they all pile on when someone on TV gives them the go-ahead, because that's where they get all their truth from the TV.
Look at the sign in the picture behind you. ICE in our courtroom erodes public trust. No, it doesn't. No. If there's an illegal immigrant criminal that needs to be deported, where else are you going to get him? Wait till he's picking up a Little Caesars pizza or something?
I 100%. It seems crazy that again, this is the stupidity of the Democratic Party and the people who are just have Trump derangement syndrome, and whatever the TV tells them, they're just going to do. Well, no, they told me it was bad. It was bad. This guy said, did you know that guy punched his girlfriend in the face 30 times? Do you know he was already deported once by the Biden administration? Do you know he stuck back in illegally, which is a felony? Do you know that he's strangled somebody? And do you know any of this? And I bet if you asked them, they'd be like, no, I didn't know any of that. I would love that. I wish I lived in Milwaukee so I could go interview some of those people, because they don't know any of that. And I would love to hear what their response would be to that. I bet it would be, duh, Trump bad, duh. So, all right. Do you have any more time to hang out with us? Do you want to do another story? You got to go.
No, absolutely. I don't have time.
Okay, over to Steph, and I'll set up the next story.
All right, you want to stay here or you want to go to Rumble? It's 4:28. You decide.
Let's do one more story.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, independent free thinker, hold on to your... you all are ignorant. Okay, take that in, everybody. We all come from Earth, which makes us all brothers and sisters. Turns out then we're all ignorant brothers and sisters. That's just what I'm thinking, independent free thinker. Benjamin Vito, I call it ideological tethering. Tether a truth to an unrelatable belief. LE, Palestine, and trans rights, flat earth, and moon landing, etc. Benjamin, I see what you're doing. Okay. Phantomos Fanto, I'm planning We Miss Kerp with guest tribute concert. That's funny, guest tribute. Okay, here we go. Ketanji Jackson, judge that sentenced PG shooter Jennifer Gross, shared that. MCFC, hold on, MCFC. Unfounded babble equating tariffs to migration and fentanyl. No proof of Canada changing PMs. There are alternate plans. Just do your research.
Okay.
Bleach Tooth needs to research a little better. Jimmy. All
What?
right, back to Jim.
What do I need to research better?
We just need to research better. I don't know.
Research what?
It started with unfounded babble equating tariffs to migration and fentanyl. No proof of Canada changing PMs. There are alternate plans. Just do your research.
Well, Canada's certainly changed prime ministers.
I don't think you've done your research.
Justin Trudeau is no longer prime minister.
I think you need to research it more. That's just what I'm saying, Jimmy.
Okay.
I stand by our chat.
So this is a great catch by Western Lensman. So he's, how the remember when they all started calling JD Vance and Trump, they're weird. Remember, everybody, and it just went out. The word went out. So the talking points go out, and then it gets repeated by every Democrat, and it gets repeated by everybody in the mainstream news media. Weird. They're weird. Tim Walz was a weird? Really? Okay. Kamala Harris being drunk in CNN interviews. Was it? Anyway, but so now the new line is that Trump is creating chaos. This is the new line. They're creating chaos by arresting a judge and doing his so let's watch this. Watch.
We begin this hour with the chaos.
The average American sees chaos. The American people see chaos.
It's total chaos.
You brought chaos.
It's just complete chaos.
Economic chaos.
They unleash chaos. They are creating chaos.
This chaos, there's too much chaos.
Total chaos.
But amidst the chaos,
Gonna see chaos. After seeing all the chaos.
The chaos is unleashed on America.
Continue to see the chaos. Economic chaos.
A lot more chaos.
Trump's chaos. This is chaos. With such chaos.
The chaos, because of this chaos. Chaos.
All of this chaos.
Uncertainty and chaos. Given all that chaos.
When it's chaos.
All the chaos. Chaos and confusion grow.
it's more chaos, dysfunction. The chaos is the purpose. The chaos is the goal.
It's chaos.
So it's not just about the Wisconsin judge. It's about anything. His economic program, his immigration program, his DEI program. And it's all chaos. And by the way, what's with all the chaos? I thought chaos was only for the border policy and gender. That's what I thought chaos was only for. Not the chaos that comes from enforcing laws. So Here's the Washington Post. Wisconsin judge arrested by the FBI charged with obstructing immigration. It escalates the Trump administration's battle with the local officials over immigration enforcement. And here's the script. Here's the script over that. Watch this.
We begin tonight with the escalation in the president's crackdown on illegal immigration.
Today's dramatic escalation in the Trump administration's conflict with judges.
The Trump administration signaling a major escalation in its deportation efforts.
Today, an escalation in the Trump administration's battle with the judiciary.
Tensions between local and federal authorities over President Trump's immigration crackdown escalated today.
We begin this hour with a major escalation of the Trump administration's crackdown on immigration.
We begin with what appears to be a major escalation in the Trump administration's deportation efforts.
And what is a major escalation in the battle here in D.C. over immigration and deportation.
This feels like an insane and reckless escalation from the Trump administration arresting a judge. I will tell you, you are not alone.
Is a dramatic escalation.
More aggressive moves, more escalation.
Trump's escalation of his migrant purge. This kind of escalatory action. This is a dramatic escalation.
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 I see an escalation.
So this is how this works, right? So again, the order goes out. And by the way, just so you know, Trump has deported less illegal migrants than Bill Clinton. And an uncomfortable amount have turned out to be legal migrants who legally protested against Israel. Is that why they're saying all this? I don't think they're saying this because they're not defending. Isn't it funny how they're not defending the people who are speaking out against Israel? Isn't that interesting? No. So let me just throw it over to Stephen Gardner and get your opinion on how this propaganda machine works. Because this is exactly called manufacturing consent. And you see it everywhere. So it must be true. I see it everywhere. Just like Russiagate, just like COVID, just like the Ukraine war. Go ahead, Stephen, take it.
Wasn't there a clip in the last couple months of Obama saying, you know, if you put enough trash into the town square, you can control the thinking of the people, right? So I like how that one guy is like, I'm not going along with this escalation stuff. And so he throws out escalatory. Yeah, chaos, escalation. The thing that is so surprising to me is everything that they're mad about with Donald Trump, he talked about it for 18 months. Oh, tariffs is my favorite word. I wonder if he's going to do tariffs. It's his favorite word, right? Like, he loves that word more than Melania. Same thing. I'm going to crack down on the border. How dare this guy crack down on the border? I'm going to try to end the Russia-Ukraine war. How dare you? Jimmy, for me, I just say you follow the money. You're going to find out that big pharma, military, big food, big chemical, they're behind a lot of this stuff, I believe. And they're probably being pushed. But I agree with you. It's almost certain that these are talking points that are handed out like a morning huddle at Walmart. This is what we're going to focus on today. Chaos and escalation. And those become the buzzwords. But for me, Trump told you exactly what he was going to do. What they're mad about is that he's actually doing it. What they're mad about is when he pulled back the curtain on USAID, they were the cockroaches when the lights came on. I don't know. For me, it's talking points. It's just talking points.
Well, I'm sorry to see you escalate the conversation like that, Stephen.
Yeah, you got me going.
It's just you've created chaos here at the show. It's just chaos and escalation and chaos, and it's weird. Anyway, great job by Western Lensman. That was great catch. I don't know who's got that kind of time to track all that down, but fantastic. And again, you can oppose Donald Trump. But when they do it in such a transparently dishonest and coordinated way, it undermines their own case, and it just reinforces people who want to support Trump, and so it has the exact blowback, as the CIA would call it.
I just brought this other
so there's blowback to when you lie, And when you do obvious propaganda, when you distort things, and there it is. The blowback is that the people who support him even more. They're never going to believe. It's the boy who cried wolf. And then they're never going to believe you. And the Democrats can't help it. They've been crying wolf since 2016. Russiagate, the P tapes, the dossier, the FBI went to Mar-a-Lago and they found all these. Oh, you mean they staged it? Yeah, they staged it. Okay. So it's just, why do you got to lie? George Snuffleupagus says Donald Trump was convicted of rape in a court. He wasn't. Then ABC News had to pay him $15 million. So again, Trump is flawed. No doubt about it. Trump is flawed, like all politicians. He's almost as flawed as a stand-up comedian. So why do they have to make up shit? Well, because they agree with him on all the horrible stuff. That's the thing about the actual Democratic Party, is they agree with him on most of the horrible stuff. The stuff that we should all be against, they're for it. So they have to invent stuff. Anyway,
Can I just say,
yes, go right ahead.
Provoked from me. One thing that I think Trump did really well this last election cycle is imagine a Venn diagram, right, where there's two circles that overlap, and he was like, okay, the people in the middle, I've got to pull them to my side, and all he did was go, okay, what are issues that anger 80% of the people, and 20% I'll never win, like telling parents how to raise their children, trying to trans children over just letting children grow up. It's hard enough being a kid, right? Ending the war, illegal immigration, out of control inflation, rising gas prices. So all he did was take the things that agitated 80% of the country, and he was able to pull enough people to his side to win an election. What did the Democrats do? I know. Will double down on the thing that the 20% are agitated about, and they go further and further to the left. I mean, even Bill Maher is seeing this. You've got so many Democrats that are saying, if they just continue to lean left, they're going to have such a low approval rating. They're not going to win any further elections. But that's how I see it anyway. Is he grabbed the 80% so that he could pull enough people over the finish line to win, and they're grabbing at the 20%, and they're not pulling very many people over. I'm sure there's people that are like, oh man, I voted for Trump and my 401k is down, or I believe in due process, or he said he would end the war on day one, but he's not the president of either of the countries that are actually at war, and maybe it's an ugly mess to end war, but he did say day one, so we've got to hold him to that. Like, I don't know. I think that the Democrats continue to bark up the wrong tree, but they are good at barking, and it gets a lot of attention.
All right, I actually have one more story about the judge, if you could stick around to go over. All right, over to Steph, and I'll set that up.
All right, and we're going to stay here, not go to Rumble. We're going to do one more story here.
Sure, we could head to Rumble. Go ahead.
We're going to head to Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put the link. There we go. There's the link, and I will pin it. Stand by. Pinned. Almost. Replaced pin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you over at Rumble in about a minute.
Hey, I have an urgent retirement warning. Even as Trump stands up to China, billionaires are fleeing Wall Street, including Warren Buffett, who dumped $133 billion in stock.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. Today's Friday, so it's a Friday news roundup.
Michaela ghosted Trisha even after their whole big drama that recently went down where Michaela felt like Trisha hated her, but she had tickets to her live show. We got an update on that whole situation. Plus, we're going to talk about a Gabby Hanna update and one thing that she posted on TikTok that has some people worried about her. And of course, we're talking about Jeffree Star because he tweeted something that has people going down a rabbit hole of some of the things that have been rumored about him over the years, wondering if he was trying to confirm one of those this week. So let's dive into everything that is currently going on.
Besides the stew over plagiarism, Martha found herself in the soup when readers discovered that a number of recipes in entertaining simply didn't work. The Times food editor, Marion Burroughs, came in low and hit hard. A recipe for tomato fettuccine with snow peas Alfredo, a strange combination, calls for 4 pounds of pasta and about 3.5 cups of sauce. Instructions for preparing tortellini, broccoli, and pesto call for 8 pounds of tortellini, 3 bunches of broccoli, and 2 cups of sauce. The result in both cases is, as might be expected, pasta that is virtually unsauced. Hello, how are you? Welcome to my channel. My name is Cheer Denise. Today we're reading about Martha Stewart. So last time we were together, she had just launched her book entitled Entertaining, and that's the book that made Martha Stewart a household name. Now, of course, as we know, Martha's been very busy all of this time. She didn't suddenly just come up with this book idea and then be famous. She has been involved in tons of lifestyle magazines. She's got her catering business. She's super hands-on at her house, in the garden, DIYing everything in her house. I mean, she's just super busy person, right? But now we finally know about Martha Stewart. Now, I think if you'd been in the right circles, Martha Stewart's name would have been a known name to you, because up until this point, she's had her name dropped at the New York Times multiple times. She, like I said, is involved in a lot of the popular lifestyle magazines at the time. So if you cared about the details of who's behind what, you might have heard about her before, but she's not a household name until this. However, as we read about last time, the book is not without its drama. We learned about how she used her friend who used to work for the New Yorker, and she reeled her in, and she said, I want you to write this book for me, but then she wasn't willing to give that girl her due. And we discussed last time about how it is a little bit of a complicated situation because tons of books have ghostwriters. And most of the time, the ghostwriter doesn't expect to have their name on the cover or to be receiving credit publicly for that. Now, I think that Martha gave her a really ratty deal, monetarily. But I do think the fact that the girl thought her name would be on the book is a little bit interesting. I just think that it had not been made clear to her, or maybe she just didn't want it to have been made clear to her, that she was not an equal with Martha in this whole process. I feel like the fact that Martha cut her out financially, and she knew that before she even went into the book, should have been indication enough that Martha wasn't going to do her the honor of then giving her a space on the front cover of that book. But regardless, Martha and Andy screwed Liz Hawes over real good. And they knew what they were doing. And as she said herself, she was incredibly naive about the process. And she really thought that Martha was enough of her friend, that in the end, it would all come out in the wash. Everything would be fine in the end. And I think she had just no idea that Martha was as maniacal, and Andy too, because Andy doesn't get a pass here either. Andy has helped Martha screw over multiple ones of her friends when it came to the publishing world. Andy so often gets a pass for the things that he does that are not acceptable, that are quite manipulative, just because Martha on her everyday is such an unpleasant person. But when it came to business, Andy was not above screwing you over and making sure that, you didn't get the financial deal that he and Martha were getting. Okay, so that's where we left off. Let's continue on, though, because there's more drama related to that book. It's not just the writer that they screwed over, but the way they collected material for that book was nefarious, and now people are coming out saying, hey, you plagiarist, what the hell is my recipe doing in your book? It's not your recipe, it's mine. All right, this chapter is entitled Stop Thief. A born saleswoman, Martha hit the road to pitch Entertaining, determined to make it a bestseller. For a month, she spearheaded a publicity blitz that took her from coast to coast, border to border, giving interviews, cooking demonstrations, autographs, and winning legions of loyal followers, the charter members of what became an enormous cult of Martha Stewart worshippers and wannabes. But her book and her philosophy also infuriated others, many of them feminists, who thought she was turning back the clock on the many advances made by women by telling them to return to the kitchen. They became charter members in an enormous cult of Martha Stewart detractors. Eventually, Martha became one of those celebrities who people loved to hate. Not that anybody cares what my opinion is, but I don't think Martha Stewart was turning back any clock. I think she was just telling you that there's a way to make your life in the kitchen a pleasurable one, in that you're making your life a beautiful one. If you don't want to be in the kitchen, don't be in the kitchen. Just because Martha Stewart likes to be in the kitchen, that's not an indictment on what you need to do. And people need to quit this business where when they hear criticism that doesn't jive with the way they want to live their life, they take it as some kind of insult on them, that someone's attacking them with they want to live their life. No one's attacking you. You do you. Martha Stewart wants to wrap a turkey in puff pastry. instead of just the traditional roasted bird, and that looks ridiculous and stupid to you, because it is, then just don't make the puff pastry wrapped turkey. You don't have to. And if Martha wants to encourage women who enjoy that kind of thing to do it even better, okay. That's a dumb criticism of Martha Stewart. In Los Angeles, she made a hysterically funny appearance on Merv Griffin's nationally syndicated talk show when she locked claws with the South American Spitfire Charo. Earlier in the green room, the two women had gotten off to a bad start, and by the time both appeared on camera, they were kissing each other. Looking like a pilgrim in a Laura Ashley dress buttoned to her throat. "That's what my public expects me to wear," she once told a colleague. Martha asked Charo, wrapped in something skin-tight and revealing, to help her make hors d'oeuvres. The mischievous Griffin, convinced that the wild singer-dancer didn't like Martha's lofty manners, waited for the fireworks with a straight face. As Martha was demonstrating how boursin and cheese stuffed into snow peas could make a delightful dish, the last of Xavier Cugat's 5 wives suddenly blurted, "But dear, your food gives me gas. I'm not coming to your party." Taking Charo seriously, Martha wagged her finger at the butt-wiggling Vegas cutie, proclaiming, "Well, you'd never be invited. Here, Charo, stuff a snow pea." Griffin, standing between the two women like a referee, said, "Ladies, ladies." Watching at home, friends of Martha chuckled at her performance. It was so funny. Charo made mincemeat out of Martha, recalled Sandy Broyard. Nevertheless, Martha ate up the publicity, good or bad. As far as she was concerned, some of those Merv Griffin viewers were going to go out and buy entertaining, and that was all that mattered. As one
Cool,
friend
just
noted,
blow right back
Martha's
inside.
underlying
Love
philosophy has
that.
always been, who cares what people think? On the road promoting entertaining and her subsequent books, Martha quickly gained a reputation as a shrew among the media escorts assigned to take her to bookstore signings and TV and radio appearances. "She's a real screamer," asserted a West Coast book publicist. "Martha will yell at anyone. The limo driver, her staff, anything you do, it's never good enough for her. She wants bookstore displays rearranged at the last minute. The signs are never big enough for her, and then she's ready to skip out before she's finished autographing books." Such an incident occurred in Buffalo, New York in 1996 and received wide press coverage. She pretends she's taking a bathroom break, but she's out the door, and furious women are standing around with unsigned books, and Martha goes, "Oh, who cares?" I never heard her say thank you, and she never gives anyone credit. She takes all the credit herself. "Oh, it worked out well," she'll say. "Wasn't that a good idea of mine?" As a result, Martha eventually was given the Book of Escort's Golden Dartboard Award, a secret dishonor bestowed among the agreed-upon biggest asshole of the year, according to one account. Liz Hawes, who had already been knocked to the mat by Martha over the money and byline issues, was in for yet another low blow to her bruised ego. When a book party was thrown for entertaining at the remarkable bookstore in Westport, Martha basked in the spotlight, but didn't invite the writer. It's right there in her hometown. Somebody mentioned the party to me. I didn't know anything about it, Hawes said. I was stunned. This was my hometown, and it was Connecticut, where many of my writer friends live. A friend who knew the bookstore owner called her and said, "Do you realize what Martha Stewart's done? Do you know there's a co-author?" The owner called me and apologized and said she just didn't realize. 5 years earlier, Martha's one-time cooking partner, Ann Brody, had moved to Washington, D.C., where she went to work as an executive with Giant Food, a supermarket chain. By the time Entertaining was published, Brody had made a name for herself as an innovator. She developed the concept of a gourmet supermarket for Giant and was in the process of opening the first store in the affluent Washington suburb of McLean, Virginia, near the Hickory Hill estate of Ethel Kennedy. Brody thought that it would be wonderful if Martha would make an appearance to sign books, which would promote Entertaining and Brody's store at the same time. But Martha brushed her off by telling her to call her publisher. I was sort of dumbfounded because I thought she was a friend, Brody said. She got a similar response when she talked to Martha's publicist, whose first question was, "How many books can you sell?" I said, "I don't know, the store's not open yet." And she said, "Well, Martha has no time for that. When you know how many books you can sell, call me back." Shortly after the store had its grand opening, Brody received an unexpected call from Martha, due in Washington, to hawk Entertaining. She said, "I'd love to see you while I'm here, and I have to go to the store before my TV appearance to get ingredients to demonstrate a recipe. Are you anywhere near there?" And I said, "Martha, that is my store." So this limousine entourage arrived, and Martha hopped out and walked in, and I said, "How are you?" She nodded, looking at the produce section, and said, "What, no flowering kale?" And as she was leaving, she said, "You know, I could have sold a lot of books here. Why didn't you let me know?" I said, "Martha, because I should never have had to make a second call. You know, that's where we differ. I take care of my friends." And that was that. Can you imagine the infuriation?
Oh, I want to show you guys what
I
I'm...
sold a lot of books here. Why didn't you call me? I effing did call you.
I'm going to show you the thing that I'm starting to work on. So I'm waiting for stuff to come in the mail so I can do those ocean dresses. In the meantime, I'm going to make these granny square type things. These are like a leaf. This is the first one that I tried to make while following the tutorial. So I'm going to make a few. I'm also blocking will make this like totally different once I like get it in its like nice square. So I was thinking I'm just going to make a bunch of these. So I'll make rust, mustard, teal, and maybe, I don't know, maybe dark green or something if I have that, or so a purple, a darker purple color. But I'm gonna make a bunch of the different colors of the leaves, and then I'm gonna make something out of that, maybe some like shorts or cardigan or something along those lines. Can't believe I had enough time to do all that after taking Elliot to his dad's and stuff. 5 o'clock, I'm done. Ooh, sorry, Money. God damn it. Stop standing underneath my feet, cat. All right, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm going to ski-diddle. I'm gonna go rest. I gotta wash my hands, actually. And then I'm gonna go rest for a minute, like relax, check my phone, see how many phone calls I've gotten. So yeah. Money, for the love of God. So that's what it looks like, all done. And it's crazy how it matches this one that I already have. Like, I am pretty stoked. Anyway, so this is what the bus looks like now. I moved the shelf over here. That was over here so I could make room for that. I'm gonna try to see if I can't get this back over there, because I feel like I might be able to if I just scooch this over a little bit. Or I'm also thinking, what if I move this whole thing, which needs to be organized terribly? I should put all the jars and all the things that I don't want to deal with right now in that black bin. But anyway, so I have room for storage, because there's a lot of storage room here that I could use to store food and bowls and plates and things. So I need to clean this area out. I need to get rid of all that. But I'm thinking maybe I'll move this whole thing over here and move this thing over here and that over here as well. So if I'm thinking maybe I could fit, or even this shelf and its twin can go side by side right here, and then I could put something on top of that and make a counter type space that would be about the same height as this, just a little bit higher maybe than the counter. So anyways, so yeah, look at that, killing it. The house is still an absolute nightmare over here, but Elliot just left and I have to like recover the house. Like when he's here, I can't organize because there's just so much stuff in the house with his clothes. Like I got two whole black bins out of my house when he just left, full of stuff. So now that that's all cleared out, I can start moving things around, and I'm gonna make this drawer primarily Elliot's drawer, and then I'll use this one. And we've got that other one over there that I'm going to use for crafting stuff. So I have access to my crafting supplies, and it's right next to where I like to sit and craft. But I would really like to make it a situation where I can have a crafting space. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do over here in the kitchen, is turn this area here into like my sewing table or whatever. So I'm trying to figure that out too. So it's just a work in progress, because I need to get rid of all the kitchen stuff here, move that stuff over to there, and start using the stove over there. I need to put a sink where that red basket is, where that red basket right there. I need to put a sink right there, and then I'll have, you know, my kitchenette there out of the way, and then I'll have my crafting stuff over here. And then I could sew here at this thing and use this as like a big sewing table, or, you know, whatever. So we'll see. But I need to have a place where I can craft. So it's just a work in progress, and not really being able to do much because I have extremely low energy when I'm you know, chasing Elliot down in the sense that it's constant fights, constant bickering. Anything that I try to enforce as a parent, I have to argue and repeat myself, and so it's just it's a part of parenting, but it's freaking exhausting. So what was just charging my phone? Oh. So yeah, it's normal, it's whatever, part of parenting, but it's just exhausting. And so doing things that require energy are just not right, like not necessarily feasible for me during that time. Oh God. Oh, I left my jewel over there, damn it. Go back. All right, anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you later. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna turn this video into a TikTok video here in a minute, so I'm gonna sit here and do that now. I need energy, I need protein. All right, love you, bye. Gonna go wash my hands right now.